Okay, BFS Live, episode 86. I'm just on my screen, so you can look at your phone.
Sick, I'm posting.
He's posting because we're live. You gotta let the followers know we're live. Oh, man. It's been quite a week for me. As always, we're streaming live on YouTube. If you listen to this later, then it's not live on YouTube. You're just at work or something. I'm here with Tom Ende.
Am I live on the screen?
You are live on the screen. Woo! We're two up on the screen.
Let's go. Very excited to be here.
I might be out of focus, but
no.
You've done a lot. I'm gonna preface this. Sorry. God damn it. I'm exhausted. The past 2 weeks have been brutal with the half pipe build, the mini ramp build. It's Wednesday night, and I've probably already worked like 39 hours so far. So it's been a long week, and then personal stuff going on.
Hats off.
Well.
Hats off.
But yeah, you're the creator of Canalside Skatejam, and you run this event. So we're going to talk about that in the first half, and then the second half, you're going to kind of interview me. I think that's the premise.
Yeah. Do we get to switch chairs?
No, that's my seat.
That's what I figured.
So we'll flip the script, which is great because I literally had no time to really plan or outline.
Yeah.
Although we've talked a lot, and like you're a really interesting guy, and you do a lot, and like you're kind of unassuming in how savvy you are. So there's plenty to talk about, and I'd love to have you on again to talk about what you've done. But today, I guess we're going to do a little mix.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
Tell me about Canalside Skatejam.
Okay, so Skakejam it's a contest technically, but in a way, it's almost like our open house for the park is a good way. I was kind of thinking about it on the way here, and I was like, how would I like quick pitch it or like describe it accurately? And so it's a game of skate contest, it's a mini ramp contest, and then there's just best trick stuff because that's super easy to kind of host and manage, and super fun to see people just like kill the same obstacle. So it's those three formats, and that also allows the park to stay kind of open skate all day because we're either doing flat ground games, we're skating just the mini ramp, or we're doing best tricks. So it's meant to be an event that anyone can come and skate at, even if they don't compete. And, that's kind of super encouraged, as opposed to maybe if you were to see like if you go to the X Games, not that we're anything close to that, but you wouldn't get to skate. You just watch. Yeah. So for us, if you're not competing, you can still skate. And that's a big deal. And so originally when I thought it up, I just wanted a good reason to clean the park up, put it back together, refurbish things, and just like present it to the greater skate scene. And so we made a contest and made it happen.
So where is this? And when is this?
Yeah, great question. So Seneca Falls is where it's at, and obviously we're shooting in Rochester right now, so it's maybe like 50 minutes, just a quick shot on the thruway, and it's the Seneca Falls Skatepark, and it's May 18th. It's a Sunday.
May 18th, Sunday. All day?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we usually say sign-ups at noon, and then I would say we usually wrap around like 4 or 5, but stay as long as you want, really.
And how long have you been hosting this event?
So the first one was in 2019, and then of course we skipped 2020 because that's what you did in 2020. You skip things, and we came back in 2021, and then we skipped another couple years to come back in 2024. So it's been a longer event than it has been annual, but this will be our fourth one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you do this?
So yeah, again, just kind of like presenting the park and finding a good reason to do that, and then also feeling like we have a pretty solid park, despite it being a prefabbed park. It's in a really good spot. I think the ramps are honestly, like, transition's good, like everything about it. It's a fun park to be at, fun park to skate, and I feel like not a lot of people really knew about it before we started doing Skakejam. And it's kind of dead in the middle between Syracuse and Rochester. So it felt like, let's get everybody from the nearby cities together in the middle and kind of like collide the world. So
And you get a good attendance from Syracuse?
Honestly, not as much as we do Rochester and even Buffalo, but we do have Flower Skate Shop on this year. And
Cool.
so Flower Skate Shop and Black Mamba are kind of like our Syracuse sponsors. And hopefully we'll get more. Honestly, we're always looking to kind of encourage extra people to show up.
So beyond the pride of authorship and running this event, you clearly have some sort of attachment to Seneca Falls and the skate. Like you're saying, we're gonna present this to let people see this thing. We
Sure.
have this cool thing. So what is that? Like, are you from there? Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, so myself, my brother, my wife, we all skate the park super regularly. We all are from Seneca Falls. We all still live in Seneca Falls. My wife and I live probably like 0.2 miles from the park. My brother maybe is 0.1 mile from the park. So we always joke you could literally like run out of our front door and just like throw your board down and just push one time and you'd end up at the skate park. It's like really quick and really fast. And so actually my wife grew up with the skate park behind her house. Like her house is like just up the hill. So she could look out the window of her house and see who was there. So if you can hear the ramps, she'd just run to the back and be like, "Who's at the park right now?"
And she saw this.
Yeah, and then here I was.
Boy.
Yeah, we did actually meet there though,
That's
which
adorable.
it's
So
pretty
you're
cute.
0.2.
0.2 miles.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it feels like it's our yard. Like
Yeah,
it feels like it's
that's
our
incredible.
park, in the best way.
My house is like probably within that same range of the skate park.
Of this one, yeah.
But because of the geography and the railroad tracks, you have to kind of go around. So it's 0.86.
Okay.
To get here.
That's a pretty.
But if I go out in the parking lot, I can see the roof of my house sticking up over a building over there.
But
yeah.
you got to like zigzag to get to
And,
it.
yeah,
kinda.
sometimes when I walk to work, which I tend to do, I don't know why on Saturdays I like to walk to work on Saturdays.
Walk to work every day if you can. Yeah.
Well, I ride to work a lot. And a lot of times I'm running errands and whatever. I digress.
Yeah.
Frankly, sometimes I just jump the fence and just cross the railroad tracks. I've been here for 12 hours. I'm like, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, yeah. Not that riders are usually really good rule followers anyway.
No.
So
That's really cool. I've actually never been to the skate park.
yeah.
I may have only been in Seneca Falls one time, and it was because we did a 100-mile bike run around that lake, and we had to go through
around the Cuba
town.
Lake.
Yeah.
That's sick.
And I was familiar with it because that's what Katie Stanton's house is there.
Yeah, so it's the birthplace of women's rights, and there's a ton of different like monuments and points of interest. And yeah, the Katie Stanton's house, you might have, even if you went over the locks, you probably went right by it.
I think we may have stopped. Maybe
Yeah.
I was there another time I went to the house. Because I have in my old podcast studio, if anyone ever remembers, directly behind me was 3 portraits, and it was Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, and Susan B. Anthony.
Okay, yeah.
So, I had a thing for Susan B. Anthony.
Love that.
Yeah.
No, it's honestly it's a good little town, and they built us the park in like '03, and then they kind of left it to die. And by like 2013, it was like the backs of the ramps are getting yanked off. Anything that isn't secured is getting thrown in the canal by little kids, and everything's overgrown. And the rail was hit by a plow, and it was crooked. And we were just like,
Wait, how did a plow hit the rail? Was there not a fence around the ramps?
No, so there was originally
Oh.
the park was originally built in like '03, and it was like there was a fence, there was a vending machine, a porta potty, a little shed there that the attendant would sit in, who was paid to watch the park.
Oh,
You had to wear
interesting.
full pads.
That was a thing in that era.
Yeah. So it was attended, kind of like the Onondaga Lake Park. It had an attendant. You had to wear element down. You had to wear full pads, and we were like really just trying to skate street as middle schoolers in 2005 would. And so once people stopped using it, they couldn't really staff it. And once they couldn't staff it, they took down the fence and stopped enforcing the pads. And like I said, it just kind of left to die. So in like 2015 or 16, we decided like we got to do something about it. And it was just the right time because the guy at the commissioner of the rec was like really excited to see us kind of like take ownership and take care of it. And he was really supportive of us, and we worked really closely with him. And he kind of just basically let us do whatever we wanted with it. Like, whatever you want to fix, build, replace, repair, like it's all you. Just keep taking care of it, and we'll keep supporting you. And so it's kind of been that way since.
So you've done repair work there and maintenance. What have you done there?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing we ever did, which actually kind of circles back to you, we replaced that rail that got hit by a plow. And I had asked you about how I should go about that. And then you turned me over to Phil at Fabwell.
Yes.
And he donated a new rail. It's awesome. Like it's such a sick rail. Put like little I don't even know how you would describe it, but he made it like slightly decorative, but in like a very kind of like street plaza type of way. Anyways, great flat bar. And
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Phil's like a really, really good friend of mine.
He's sick. He literally, I emailed him a nice little pro email about how we're trying to fix the park, and he's like, I'll just do it for free. Like, if you can pick it up, I'll build it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was the first thing we did is we replaced the flat bar. And then we replaced, there was a bench that was metal, and it had like a, kind of like a polywood top to it. That all got ripped off, the polywood and stuff, and the bench got like, I don't even know how to describe it, just like super bent. It was all warped down, upside down, and so we flattened that out and resurfaced it, and just kind of like repaired that one. We put in two like DIY like cinder block ledges, and put coping on those. Like I said, the backs of the ramps were all like ripped off and mismatched and stuff. So we kind of very thoughtfully used what we had left to remove some pieces, add new pieces, and just kind of like beautify it to an extent. And then we were just filling cracks there like last week. We've built a couple different manual pads. We've brought in different flat bars and barriers and things like that, and just generally kind of become like the maintenance people of the park. So if anything gets destroyed, we're the ones that are rolling up with the bag from Home Depot and kind of reattaching it and fixing it back up.
And you have a formal relationship with like a town planner or someone like that?
So yeah, the commissioner of the rec center and the co-commissioner are both, they just kind of work super hands off with us, but with a lot of kind of just respect, and they just allow us to really kind of run the ship. And as far as they're concerned, we can do whatever we feel is necessary, and they're behind us 100%. They'll come back and kick out the kids if they're throwing trash and loitering, and they just pretty much give us our space and let us manage it. And so far, so good.
That's very rare. You know how rare that is? That's extraordinarily rare.
That's what the guy,
especially for a skate park,
at the that was like the ramp vendor had said. He's like, dude, you got a really good commissioner there. Like she really is supportive, and that we don't really get that a lot. So you got a lot of opportunity there. So
yeah.
So shout out to the Seneca Falls Rec Center.
That's awesome. I'm involved in a couple of worlds in mountain biking and disc golf and skate parks, and so much momentum in getting any of these amenities added to parks rely on having like literally one person in that town who gives a F.
Yeah.
And if you have the right person, you can get a lot done. And then a lot of times, even if you do have the right person, when that person leaves that job or the term is over, things come to a grinding, screeching halt.
That makes sense. And we were terrified of that when the original commissioner left, Jim. He went to North Carolina, and we were like, well, there it goes. But the new lady who takes care of it is also equally as great. So yeah, definitely feel lucky to have earned their respect and support, and hoping to kind of continue to refurbish and replace. And we did pitch for some grant money in like 2019 that we were successful in receiving, but because of COVID and because of the way the state spends money or doesn't spend money, we only ended up getting like a small portion of it. But we did get a brand new mini ramp there, which is it's pretty nice. It's like a 12 foot wide, 3 foot tall, like prefabbed metal ramp, and it's honestly it's.
Do you know what the radius is?
I don't, but I'm not surprised that you asked. As I was spitting the stats, I was like,
I literally just built.
He's gonna want to know
a ramp that exact dimensions.
Well, I mean, you could probably tell me if you look. Is there a measurement to like reverse radius a ramp besides tracing it?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm sure Sean Danick, who was on this podcast, mountain biker, he has like a chart
Oh, okay.
where it's based on height and radius and angle. You could reverse engineer it.
Okay. So there is, but it's for big brains to figure out.
Yeah, so if it is actually 36 inches and you knew the angle it was at 36 inches, you can
Okay.
reverse engineer what that radius is.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's always a way to undo math, right? Like,
I'm interested to check it out because I skated, believe it or not, I skate.
Yeah.
I skated that mini ramp I just built.
how'd you like it?
It was awesome.
Dude,
The
nice.
coping stuck out a little bit more than I would prefer for like a multi-use ramp. But for, I think, skaters, skaters like big coping very frequently.
Yeah.
It definitely protruded forward more so than my ramps. And I was actually worried I was going to have to go through and
Kind of redo it.
well, there was no way to shim it because it's right up against 2x4. So I'd have to take the deck off and like run like a blade's width off the stud it's resting on. It would have been a real
Yeah.
pain in the butt. And when you rode it on the bike, it actually was not too bad because it kind of bumped you up a bit. And then when I dropped it on the skateboard, I was like, honestly, I was like really, really nervous because I only skate the mini.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'm going to drop it.
Yeah, yeah.
And, the ramps are so funny because like the ramp I built was 33 inches. And then with the deck on top, so it would have been 33 3/4 inches.
Okay.
So it's right in between that mini ramp and that mini ramp. But the radius was actually steeper than both of these ramps.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
I've never
God.
skated
Oh
something
my
this
God.
steep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it was
I
good?
dropped in and just like locked right into a 50-50. And almost to the point it kind of scared me. I jumped off the board and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa. That felt pretty good.
That was a little too good. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
And
It's funny
maybe
how it
that's,
happens like that.
embarrassing to say that after doing this long. It's only now I'm realizing that. Hold on, my on-air light turned
Oh,
off.
I feel so much better now.
And yeah, it was awesome. That ramp came out phenomenal, and those videos are still trickling out
Yeah.
because I'm
So
I'm
are
at
you
part
able to,
9.
was that was like a commissioned piece that you did for
yeah.
somebody?
So that ramp,
Are you able to talk about it?
yeah, this is totally tangential, but whatever. That ramp is going to Misfits Dispensary in Henrietta,
Oh, cool.
which somehow this dispensary, their address is 420 Jefferson Road.
Yeah, of course it is.
And I was like, how'd that happen? And the chick's like, it's coincidence. Really? Really?
Come on.
And
I
so
love
they're
that.
they're doing an event on 4/19. Like this is like I was
Couldn't do
cracking
Easter?
up.
You couldn't do Easter? Come on.
It's like a hilarious stoner bit. It's like, oh, we're doing a 420 event, but on 4/19.
Yeah.
And so that mini ramp I built that is in all the videos I just posted is going to be publicly rideable.
Nice.
You might have to sign a waiver. I'm not sure. They're going to set that thing up outside
Yeah.
at their dispensary in Henrietta on 4/19 all day long, and you can just show up and skate that mini ramp.
Have you had any other people kind of reach out and be like, "Oh, you'll build ramps," like, or are you open to that?
Yeah, I built that other one during COVID. I've posted videos of. And
Is that
I've
the
had-
one that was like was like upstairs
in a
attic or
barn?
something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had one person reach out to me through the videos I've been posting,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, I mean, that ramp I built was probably like $3,500
Yeah.
with labor.
That's good to know though that it's 3,500 because I feel like if you try to search like how much is a mini ramp, it's like there's so many variables that it's like I don't
Yeah,
know.
and that's like, I mean, if anyone cares, and maybe the people listening to this might care, I quoted them 12 hours of labor, and it took more than double.
Yeah.
And because that ramp is modular, it's 6 different pieces. So the fact that it had to be extraordinarily precise added a lot of time. When that ramp is put together, assuming that they like really put it together correctly, which is I thought was fairly idiot proof. If you were to see that ramp when I had it out here,
Yeah.
you would not think that was 5 pieces. You would truly believe that was one ramp completely
Yeah,
the way
yeah.
it was built because of the way I did it. We wrote it, the coping wasn't even screwed in because I built it so absolutely perfectly for the coping
Yeah.
and it had nowhere to move, nowhere to pop out, and it was like perfect.
Dude, nice.
And while I left it, there was I drilled that hole so you could put screws in the end of the coping, and I left Torx bit screws into the deck right next to it that were green. I'm like, you could pull that out and just put it right in,
Yeah.
right? And it's all labeled and numbered. Basically, you have 6 inches of the top layer and masonite overhanging one ramp, and then 6 inches of that missing on the second ramp. So you kind of slide the 2 ramps over each other.
Okay.
And then both of the ramps would slide onto the deck, and there was an overlap. And then the deck didn't fit in their truck, so I had to take the flat bottom apart and make it into 2
I was
pieces.
gonna ask, like,
It's still
did you
sitting out
deliver
there.
it or what?
No, they had to come get it.
Yeah.
And that was a whole other thing. But It ended up probably taking me, with the people that helped me along the way, probably more than 24 hours of labor.
Yeah.
So I charged them like an extra 10 hours. So I charged them, maybe 22 hours of labor, and I charged them $50 an hour for labor, which I think is crazy good money, but other people are telling me I'm not charging nearly enough.
Yeah.
I didn't upcharge for any of the lumber costs. I like the plywood was 48 or $46 a sheet. I just rounded up to 50.
Yeah.
So I made a few bucks here and there on each. Like the 2x4s were $3.35. I charged I think $4 for it. So I made a little dollar here, a little dollar here, and it ended up being, in my opinion, really good money for me. And the ramp came out beautiful. I think it's the most perfect, beautiful ramp I've ever built.
And getting to make content out of it too is cool, I'm sure. Just
Yes.
being able to like, cool, I've got a good big project that I can kind of like follow along with as I go. And
there are ways you can build ramps cheaper, but it's almost like splitting hairs. I tell them like, if you want to sit down and look at the difference between 2x4s and 2x6s, and like, you could probably save yourself maybe 10%, maybe 15% on your overall cost of the mini ramp by like looking at the numbers and the different dimensional lumber. But like at the end of the day, like what's $300 when you're spending $3,000? Like
definitely, especially if it means you're getting a better or more efficient process. Like if you're like, okay, saving 300 is not, especially if it's a long-term ramp too. It's like if you're going to ride it for a long time, like I don't know.
And it was funny. They were like, I told them like, it's done. You got to come get it, because I had this work camp coming in and I need the space, and I have 2 of the ramps in the skate park and they're huge, and the other 2 are outside and they're tarped over, but they can't get wet. And they asked, well, what if we want to build them so they could get wet? I was like, well,
it's a little late for that.
I was like, well, you got to go pressure treated wood. You need like skate light or gator skins.
Yeah.
And like you're talking $20 a sheet versus $200
Dude,
a sheet.
gator skins are so expensive.
You're going to literally double the cost of the whole project just to have a weather tight product. And the whole thing was built modular, so they could. It sounds like the girl who owns the store, maybe her or her family owns like the whole shopping center, because I overheard them say that the mini ramp was going to be stored inside the mattress store, so I guess they're going to just roll it in there. And I bolted dolly wheels on the side of one of the ramps to be like, hey, look at this.
Yeah, you could flip it on its side.
I had a broken dolly, so I screwed these 3 wheels in there. If you did that for all of them, it'd make your life a lot easier. Yeah, as simple as that. And again, but pull back. They wanted it movable, and that's why it's made of masonite, because it's movable. They're going to put it inside. They think they're going to use it once a month to take it out. That'd be really cool. They might underestimate how much
work it is build and unbuild. Yeah, definitely.
It's not too bad. Like once you do it once, like literally. Like,
well, think about who you are though. When you're like, is it bad? Is it not bad? It's like for you, no. That's.
Well, the thing would be, when you slide it all together, you'll see all the pre-countersunk holes where all those screws have to go to put it together.
Yeah.
But then when you take it apart, I didn't like mark them.
Yeah.
So like,
did you give them any instructions? Like,
I talked them through
video.
everything. Yeah, like they came and
this
they
is
looked at
Dave.
it.
I built your ramp. This is how you're gonna want it.
And they've been watching my videos too.
That's probably cool for them.
Which is funny because they're watching like the video. I think I'm like, yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Oh, I thought you were just cutting it.
Yeah, you're like, no, the video, cutting it in the video.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I enjoyed following along, and
there's plenty more coming.
Yeah, of course.
And it's been great for my channel. Like it's hard to know, what's exactly it is, but I've been posting a video a day for over 100 days now, so that's a pretty big benchmark.
Yeah, dude. That honestly, like, I don't know how many people have said this to you, but I hope a lot. Like, you should be super proud of yourself with the amount of content you're putting out and the quality that you're putting out. Looking back over your portfolio, like, I'm not surprised. I feel like you're built for this. Like, making little video pieces is something it seems like you've always done, kind of, as it coincides with BMX and stuff. But to do like 100 straight and to have one to keep that momentum going and to like harness that energy and to be always making content, it can be exhausting and it can feel like sometimes it's not working, but exactly what you're doing is exactly what you're supposed to do. And I think it's going really well. So major applause for keeping that going, because it's tough.
I think this would be like a trope of my podcast, bringing this up, but I'm dyslexic, and the dyslexic mind thinks in webs, not A to B.
Okay.
So that's why there's syntax errors and I have typos and all kinds of ridiculous dumb stuff. But I think the reason why I do the videos well is because it's this like bigger picture. Like I film these videos mostly on the fly, and like these jokes just come, like the jokes and the little
Yeah,
shit, it just comes to me because it's my brain is like pulling from everywhere all the time. Like, and frankly, like it can be exhausting at times.
Definitely.
And at least recently, I've just piled on so much. I've like reached my limit in my bandwidth.
Yeah,
I can't take on any more because the especially right now. So like one timeline is the ramp project I'm doing now.
Yep.
And then the other timeline in my head is like the videos I'm editing, which are trickling out opposite.
Yeah.
And it really, really messes with your like perception of time and reality because like I already did it, but that was 4 days ago, but now it's 10 days ago, and now it's part 9 of the video, and now I'm filming videos for this mini ramp project.
Yeah.
So like there's like 3 different timelines happening in my head.
That it definitely is. Having too many projects open like that, especially in like an editing, that's a lot. So if anybody comes in the park and Dave's just disassociated, just know he's got 5 timelines.
I'm just sitting
open.
on the couch like staring off into the abyss.
Yep.
Like, I just need a minute.
Yep, just disassociating.
All right.
But it looks great, and I just wanted to seriously, like, next time you're doing content and you just want to die, just think of me and be like, I got to push through.
Well, this project was great for me because making content is kind of cringy.
Well, it depends on what content you make and who you are and how much you care about what people think.
This mini ramp project forced me to be, I would call it like vlog Dave, because this is like the persona I developed when I was making those vlogs back in 2016, 2017. Yeah. So it forced me to do that persona again with people around me.
Yeah.
And like, shout out to Kyle. Good. It's probably one of my best friends at this point. I was like, oh, I gotta make this clip. And he's like, just do it, dude. I don't give it, whatever. And I'm like, all right, guys, we're cutting the blood. You know, and you just turn on this different persona and do the thing. And, you know, I did like a little bit of it around 2 or 3 people. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm like, all right, no one cares.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Also, I think as the people have been watching them, it's like they know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And if they don't, they will soon. Like, so it's kind of, you know, let it fly. But it's definitely an acquired feeling to kind of like openly vlog. It's a very...
Yeah, and in reality is most people are probably pumped, like, oh, I'm going to be in the video, you know? So it's really not that bad. It's just...
But it's real. That's a real
corny,
thing, for sure. Which obviously, like, nobody wants to feel corny, but at the same time, like, what even is really corny about it? It's fucking sweet. Like, I don't know if we can swear or not. I noticed you try to keep it chill.
I try not to, because if we swear too much, the podcast networks will label them as explicit.
Sure.
I'm not sure what that does, but I imagine it's probably not good.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It doesn't do me any service to throw an F-bomb.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I don't know if it's the 100 videos in a day, but I think it's the narrative-based timeline of the half-pipe build. The fact that it's someone... Like, whatever the one I posted, the first coping video was a part 7. So if people watch it and they like it, oh, that's part 7? I got to go through and see parts 5. So
right.
I think that has been something of that seems to be the thing that's working for my channel. And again, it could be coincidence, could be that 100 videos. But my channel has really, like, the momentum has really changed in the last week. And I was getting like 10 followers a day, which is pretty good.
No, that's good. Yeah.
And I've gotten
that's honest work.
300 since Sunday.
Wow. Okay. So
and I don't have like one video going crazy, although the palette video went to it's at 65,000 views now. It's not like one thing went crazy. It's like all my views are doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So I might try to keep leaning into that narrative based. It's almost like the mini vlogs almost.
And I think it's also the opening. Like, it's all about the first 3 seconds of what you say. And I noticed you kind of like hit that coping one of like, boom, this is the best way to do coping. And it's like the person's 100%. Like, they're in, you know? I've seen a lot of people that are making content like that go with the, here's 3 things I'd never do. And then they tell you who they are and why it matters.
That's funny. The mini ramp people, she just texted me like right now.
Yeah.
They're saying she didn't see my text from 2 days ago about the ramp being done. Hilarious.
Maybe they're watching the podcast.
Yeah.
They felt called out. Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Yeah. They're talking about me. People
so I noticed, I don't know if it was on TikTok or Instagram, one of those platforms shows you your viewer retention, and the first duration is 3 seconds. And I was like, oh, well, if they're showing me what's important in the first 3 seconds, that means that must be really important.
Yeah.
I think it's like 3:10 or 30 or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I guess I have to lead with something.
Right.
And also, like, the palette video I made that has my best views, you know, the opening of it is halfway decent. Not amazing, but I noticed the ones that did good had some sort of lead in.
Totally.
The one, oh, you can't fit a mini ramp in your garage video.
Yeah, and then
really
everyone's like, why not? Tell me.
Dude, the comments section, holy crap. I'm going to do a video. I'm going to spoil it right now. In that coping video, I had like probably 20 people comment across the 4 platforms. Just use a hole saw. I don't have a hole saw.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, use a hole saw. And the hole saw doesn't really matter because I only like cut the spot once. I actually didn't have to cut it again. But if you use a hole saw and you cut your initial hole, it will look more perfect for the coping. But if you have to move it over an eighth of an inch or a quarter inch, you can't reuse the hole saw on it, so it's kind of pointless. But anyway, I'm going to do a follow-up video. I'm going to be like, oh, we're going to test the difference between using my multi-saw to cut this or the hole saw.
Yeah.
And I'll like start a timer, and I'm going to cut.
Well, you pin the comment on the top of the thing.
Yeah, I'm going to cut the first one. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now let's try the hole saw. And then I'm like, put the multi-tool down, walk out the door, get in my truck, drive to Home Depot.
Oh, yeah. Put the
back,
timer on, yeah.
You know, get the hole saw set up on the drill, cut the hole, and be like, oh, wow, that took like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
The point is, like, I'm using what I have. Right?
Yeah, that seems like
people keep saying, use a jigsaw, use a hole saw. But send me one.
Right. And someday they will. I'm waiting for the Milwaukee thing. I'm right there with you, dude.
I'm grinding on that one.
We got to all tag them. That's what we got to do. Just blow them up.
And even Parlette, who's sponsored by them, has tagged them in my stuff. And be like,
yeah.
Check this guy out. Check this guy out.
Well,
that could go either way. We're totally in the weeds here. This is what we're said we're going to talk about. But like, I know you're very much into business and marketing. The Milwaukee sponsorship is an interesting one because, in one sense, my content is engaging and skate parks are very unique and cool.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is the people that are engaging my content are most likely probably not buying Milwaukee tools.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would agree, like, for sure, like, there's skate stuff, but as you continue to make content about building in a skate park, which has been pretty, like, relevant with your content, it's like, these are people who need to go make a tool purchase. Like,
maybe.
If they're going to build their own mini ramp, they probably need to decide, oh, no, I don't have a,
Yeah, but, Nick is...
I don't have a multi-tool either.
Nick's getting, 1 million views on a plumbing video. It's fair to presume a lot of those views are other plumbers or amateur plumbers or someone at home, a DIYer who's trying to learn it. And the percentage of those people who might buy that tool is probably way, way higher than the percent of people that might just buy a circular saw.
It's all, it's all relative, but for them to send you some tools, nothing. They don't have, I'm not saying they're going to make you like the poster boy of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Anything is
like
cool.
Nick. Do you follow Nick Parlett?
I don't, but I know that he's been on your show a few times.
He was on here once, but he, like, literally after the show, when he was on back in, I think it was just January, that weekend he got flown out to, like, Vegas or something for, like, a plumbing trade show.
Yeah.
And, dude, he, like, pans over this way, and it's the Milwaukee booth. And there's all these, like, it's like this, like, harsh lit image and all these guys, and they're all like, Milwaukee, hashtag nothing but heavy duty. And there's like 6 dudes and they're all holding tools and he's one of them. Then he pans over this way and it's the, I think the Rigid Tool booth who's also sponsored with. And here's like this like 10-foot tall picture of him, arms crossed, like Rigid Tools. And it's like that banner was like 20 feet tall. This one's it's like, holy crap. This is just from making videos.
We got to shoot you some fake Milwaukee stuff and just just put it up on the wall here of you.
I feel the momentum. I feel the inertia from the videos. I feel like the tension's building and like something's gonna break through, and I'm gonna go from like it's kind of criminal that having a skate park for as long as I only have at this point 7,000 followers, which is damn near doubled from 3 months ago. You'd think just organically from being one of the only skate parks around anymore, I would have like 10K or 15K, but I don't.
Well, I feel like as you continue to build you and the skate park on the page, I feel like the content right now is more engaging than it's ever been because we're getting this like deep inside look. And so I think you're going to be at 10K in no time with the way it's flowing.
It's funny. A lot of what I'm doing is literally the exact same thing I did in vlogs in 2017. Yeah. Like when we were building a skate park, I've said this before.
Platform's different though. It's a different world and different funnel. Like it is like 100%. A funnel now, where YouTube isn't always like that.
Yeah, it is also interesting between TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Some videos do kind of good across the board, but then one does well here and one doesn't do well there. Yeah. That's really interesting, and it's hard to know like which platform, because you can't possibly take in all the analytics from all the different platforms. You kind of have to focus. I'm focusing on Instagram. I have to kind of like focus. I think where I'm at. I don't know. And Nick said that's the hardest one to make money on, but that's where my people are.
Yeah.
My TikTok, I only have like 700 followers. So it's not really gone anywhere.
Well, when did you start the TikTok?
3 months ago, 2 months ago.
That's not bad then.
Yeah,
It's actually going pretty well. But I think as you, the way your content is built, I don't think it's wrong to make Instagram your home base as long as you're always posting on the other ones. Like it's kind of all the same. But yeah, I mean, I think 700 in a few months that's awesome, especially when you look at it organic and brand new. I always find it inspiring to see a new page grow more so than an old page. I feel like the old pages, they carry followers through and half of them aren't engaged anymore. But when you have that brand new TikTok that you have and you know all 700 came in within the last 3 months, that's pretty cool.
I had a guy came and helped volunteer this week. His name was Matt. Awesome dude. He's a firefighter in Irondequoit. Great dude. I like roughly recognize him. He probably comes here with his kids, and he's like, "Oh, I'll help."
That's sick.
And he was like, "Oh, I run this like firefighter Instagram page. It's called like Leatherhead Crew, maybe something like that." And he's like, "Yeah, I have like 50K followers." And I was like, "Dude, that's crazy. I'll give you a shout out." And I was like, "Cool." And he like tagged me in a post, and like the post had like 40 likes.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. Like you see these channels. Some channels have like tons of followers and then no engagement, and then they have like 3 viral posts. And my stuff is pretty even. Like my views and engagements are like just trending up across the board fairly evenly, which is I think is a better sign than having just like one that hit.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I think of like the best plan for growing a platform like that, I really do feel like your level of consistency is exactly what I would think of. I would think of, okay, what if you just made a video every day for a whole year? It's like very basic, straightforward. But the videos they're not thoughtless. You know, you're not making trash content.
I think they're good. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I think you're onto it, and I think
Someone said that,
keep trucking.
So someone said that
keep grinding.
My channel, keep grinding.
Yeah.
Someone said my channel turned into just normal internet, like what do you call it, brain rot, and I was like,
dude, chill. Yeah, right.
Like, dude, I was like, it's not just like brain rot. Like this stuff's like, legit.
This is the skate park content. Like this is the everyday life and the, I think it's great.
I totally see it exploding.
Yeah.
I could see just the narrative of what we're doing here and the DIY nature and the repetition of the same people being here just being something that really becomes something a ton of people are interested in the narrative of. I don't know if that really turns over into like people riding the park, which it would have to,
Yeah, it definitely can't hurt. I think as you create like a destination feel of it having like this other channel, it's like it's all just a funnel to getting people to come ride, really. So I think as it builds on the channel, the more people are like, we should go there. Like, yeah.
And I never ever wanted to make this about me. Like I'm not narcissistic like that. I literally don't. I'd rather be anonymous.
Yeah.
I don't really post much. Like all the Instagram accounts I run like are just there for show. Like the Gnar Wrench one I have.
Yep.
That's just like my publicly facing one. It's basically curated content. I have another account I've had from the beginning of Instagram going back. Who knows?
That's a Finsta.
And it's
Have you heard of Finstas?
No.
Okay, that's your Finsta. But
that's
go
my
on.
Finsta.
I'll let you know if it actually is.
That's the one I actually browse content on and talk to people.
Yeah.
Like if I add you on Gnar Wrench, it's like I check that a couple, here and there, a couple times a day, maybe if I have messages, but I don't really look at it. If I add you on the other one, that means like we're friends now. Like it's legit, Otherwise, you keep everyone at a distance because you kind of had to. When I got involved in the skate park world, all these little scooter kids and moms and people are like trying to start following me. And I'm like, I had to go through and basically block a bunch of little kids from the skate park and then make my account private. And my account doesn't even have there's no picture, there's no description. It's just like, hopefully you don't find me,
Yeah. Well, then maybe it's not a Finsta if you're not posting. But
I've posted once since COVID.
Okay.
I posted a clip of me riding during COVID. I posted a picture when I married my wife. And I posted a clip when I built those rails during COVID and put them out in the street. And that was like it.
Okay, well, we're gonna call it your Finsta then.
Okay.
Which is just like a Gen Z like burner account that you have to just post whatever you want and follow 20 people, be followed by 20 people. It's like your real deep like personal account.
Yeah, I got a lot of followers there. It goes way back.
All right, well, we'll just roll with me.
Okay, I roll with you.
Okay, cool. It's your Finsta. I look forward to maybe never finding it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe one day I'll add you.
Yeah, there you go.
added
Right,
me,
then I'll know.
You added me, so yeah. You kind of have to though. Like if you want to. If I hadn't done that by now, I certainly. Part of me really doesn't like the internet. Part of me would like if I didn't have the skate park and I didn't have to do this, I probably would have all my accounts basically deactivated, and I would love to not have a smartphone.
I think that's a very common. Anyone who's tied to a business profile usually has. I mean, I feel that way similarly. Of like, it'd be kind of cool if I didn't have to post anything anywhere ever. Like that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I think internet is definitely something that you hate to love and love to hate, and somewhere in between. It
is well, okay. This thing I tell my wife's son all the time, and I tell people this all the time. This little freaking black box of the abyss that's in your pocket exists on a scale, and on one side of this paradigm, you have the most powerful tool any human has ever been given, assuming it has internet access, and the other side, it's like this hedonistic, life-sucking vacuum that will just destroy your entire dopaminergic system and kill your motivation to do anything. And it's like you really have to be conscious of where you are on that spectrum. And I think if you were to put me on that spectrum, I'm way more on the tool side of it, and I try to not ever do that stuff. Not say I don't, do a little doom scrolling or whatever.
Totally.
But even with that, I try to keep it on Twitter or X or whatever, where you're kind of taking in public discourse.
I did as your second half host, I did my own research, and I noticed that in your announcement post for Breaking Free, you mentioned the iPhone. So it's interesting to me that you're bringing it up here now. Yeah. You explain in the post something like, this is the park, this is what it stands for. Like, iPhones are great, but they can't give you what, action sports or being active or riding a bike or a skateboard or whatever. The phone can't give you that. It's not in the App Store. It's not on your iPhone. Come to the park.
That's true.
It's here. So I find it interesting that, here we are.
That was for my announcement post for the skate park in general, not for this podcast.
Yeah, correct.
Sense.
For the skate park.
My like general view of that has stayed the same, but it's evolved, and getting older and having kids changes that too.
Yeah.
We could dive into that in the second half, I guess.
Yeah,
Get ready to go.
It's all ebbs and flows.
Well,
reel me back in.
We meandered all the way around there. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Canalside Skatejam, which is on Sunday, May 18th?
Nailed it.
Seneca Falls.
Yeah, nailed it. Come. If you're watching, if you're listening, if you're still here with us, definitely show up. Everyone's welcome. We have a super inviting kind of culture at the Seneca Falls Skatepark, or we just call it Canalside now. If you've ever been to Canalside and any of the locals have been there, I guarantee we came and said, "Hey, what's your name? Where are you from? What's going on?" Like we're desperate for more friends to ride with at all times, and I say that kind of jokingly, but also truthfully. Like, it's a small town skate park, and it's pretty good for what it is, and we really like it, and we'd like for everybody else to like it too. So come to Canalside Skatejam if you want to compete. That's amazing. We would love that. If you don't, that's fine too. Just come ride and hang out, and we'll get some cool photos of you, and you can see the park and grab a sticker, and yeah.
And this is a skateboard event, but you're cool with everyone coming?
Definitely. Yeah.
And
so
what you said, compete. What are the competitions?
Yeah. So game of skate competition, which I personally love. I'm a big fan of just going back and forth and playing games of skate. So we have a bracket for that, and it's just a winner take all kind of first place thing, and then a mini ramp jam, and that's a first, second, and third, and it's kind of like an open jam heat format. So you put.
Are there divisions?
No, it's all just one.
Open.
We're desperate. We don't have that many riders, Dave.
Okay.
No, it's a good time, and typically we had done it on our bigger ramp, which is like 5 foot, and it's got a spine and a tabletop, and it's a really nice kind of transition section, but it's kind of scary. It's a life taker of a ramp for a lot of people. So
you have a 5 foot mini with a spine there?
Yeah.
Why haven't I been to this place?
I don't know, dude. You didn't know it existed. That's why I had to make Canalside Skatejam.
You
open
made the
house.
whole thing just so I would
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, but
I'm
people
flattered.
like you. That's the plan. Just come to our open house.
Well, I will tell you guys, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I'm psyched out
I
of
have
my
to
mind.
pull in a favor every time I'm not at the skate park, and this is so far this year there'll be only 2 instances that'll happen. And even when I go on vacation later, like a week after your jam, I just close the park for a week. So I will be there, and for me, like thinking down the road, I'm like, oh my god, that's Sunday.
Yeah.
You get to go do something cool.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really kind of how we want it to feel for everybody who comes. Is I get to do something cool that Sunday, and it's not a high pressure event. It's just meant to come suck the vibes down. So
Yeah.
come out like a skateboard BMX sponge and suck down our vibes.
What am I gonna do when I'm in Seneca Falls? Is there like
Feeling great.
a lunch spot or a dinner spot or what? I'm trying to plan my day. I'm like, all right, I could bring the wife and kids.
Yeah.
I could just come with my homies and ride my bike and bring my skateboard. Maybe I even bring my scooter. I don't know.
Yeah,
What
I
am
would
I
love
gonna
to see
do?
that. So Seneca Falls, honestly, the options are kind of limited, but we do have a really good spot that my wife and I went today, Cafe 19, and it's
Cafe
kind of
19.
themed around women's rights, in which Seneca Falls is the birthplace of women's rights. But Cafe 19 just has really good kind of
Is that part
fresher-
of it? Because that was the 19th Amendment. That gives
yes,
women the right
that's
to vote?
exactly what it is.
Boom,
Yep,
nailed
yep.
it. 1912, 1920,
20.
1920. Go because it was 1920 and it was the 12th Amendment. Got it.
Okay.
No, 19.
19.
I don't know.
You were
dude.
so on before. You should have just stuck
I
with the
should've shut
19.
up. Yeah,
I was
it's
impressed.
close.
But yeah, good spot, fresh food. Definitely, like if I had to recommend one spot in Seneca Falls
All right,
to eat,
cool.
that would be the place. Get some good food there for sure.
Nice Cafe is a big seller for my wife.
Yeah, cool. Good. I'm sure she'd like it. Yeah, I would start there and get your fuel for riding, and then I would come down to the skate park and suck down the vibes.
How long is the jam again? Give me the whole time frame.
So signups we typically say are at noon, and then we
Okay.
compete at 1. And I'm thinking about opening pre-registration this year, so that should kind of expedite that a little bit.
Yeah.
Let people just Venmo their entry fee, and I'll write them down on the sheet ahead of time, so I don't have to.
So people pay to be in these events.
Correct. $10 per contest, and it's just fundraiser for the park. All the money goes back into filling cracks and providing.
So the
coping
money people pay for the contest
manual
goes
pad
to the
and-
park, and when they win prizes.
Correct.
That have been donated from your sponsors.
Yeah, people like you.
like me.
Yeah.
Viewers like you.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked to have you there, and I appreciate you taking the time, and I think you'll really like the event, and I'm excited to have you just as a present figure there. And actually, I'm hoping you'll judge too for the ramp contest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we usually have the sponsors judge, and I
Okay,
think,
that works
that'd
for
be
me.
great. So yeah,
So the action is between 12 and
4.
12 and 4.
Yeah, but
12 to
the
4.
contest starts at 1. If you show up, if you don't, it's 16 riders per event. We cap it there. A, because it's a really even bracket for the game of skate, and B, because it just seems reasonable and even. And yeah, so we will have 16 in the ramp jam and 16 in the game of skate, and you can do both if you want. We'll probably do the ramp jam in our new ramp and not our big one.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to ride the big
3
one.
foot's fun, dude.
Yeah, it is fun, honestly. I think people will have more techie. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I like to see people skate the big one because it's challenging and it makes everything a little more exciting. But I do think there's a barrier of entry there that
for
some
sure.
people just don't want to skate big transition. I would actually
Yeah.
say most people don't want to when
Yeah,
it comes
3
to
foot mini is
skateboards.
very accessible for like everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So get in there and do some spinning kickflips and stuff.
So on a more personal level, I've done countless events.
Yeah.
So I've been doing events since I don't even know 2007 maybe. How's that wear on you? Like, do you stress out that day? Are you worn out at the end of the day? Are you jazzed up by that day? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I think I'm jazzed. The short answer is I'm jazzed. The long answer is that I feel like because we've never been able to pull them consecutively, we did 2019 and then 2021 and then 2024. I've always been very enthusiastic and very excited and I've had a lot of like energy and momentum to promote the event and create the event and run the event. But now our first year doing back-to-back, I can feel myself dragging a little bit. And then also on the day of, it's really like my brother and I try to take a minute and just like stop and like look around and like say to each other like, dude, this is great. This is a great day. Because if we don't, then it just flies by us really fast. And by the end of it, we just hope everybody had fun. Because we know we were running around back and forth trying to figure out when we're going to make the announcement or who signed up where or running the clock for the ramp jam, and we're on doing the announcements, and it's like very hectic. But yeah, so far, jazzed, just generally.
Over the course of the day doing this event, all these people and all the interactions, do you get energized or drained?
Energized.
Okay.
And I feel like I personally am just a very outgoing people kind of person. I prefer to be around people when I skate. Like, I'm not the type of person that would skate alone. I would rather skate with a big group. I love coming to a skate park and there being like too many people. I would rather fight for my run and skate with a lot of people than be the only one there, like workshopping something alone. So when I see the park filled, I'm excited and I skate better. I'm more invested, and yeah, it's like what it's all about for me is being around people and talking to people and making the connections and making the space for everybody to have a really good day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Would you say you're an extroverted person?
Yes, definitely.
Sure sounds like it.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what I was getting at. It's a long answer of that, but yeah.
I think that it's really simple to boil that down to where if you're extroverted, you get energized by being around all the people, and if you're introverted, you get drained.
For sure, definitely.
I'm actually pretty introverted.
Yeah.
So like I get pumped by having the workload, like it's going to be this at this time and this, and I love having all these things to do, and I love checking off boxes and getting things done. But like just being around that many people and all that social interaction like drains the hell out of me.
Yeah, that's understandable. I think there's probably more people like that than there are like me.
Yeah.
In my experience, I feel like most people you'll hear they'll say something along that lines of that it's a lot for them. But for me, it's what it's all about. It's just being around people.
Yeah, for some people, it's definitely a learned skill. Like I had to learn to talk to a camera and learn.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty good talking to the camera. Like I forget that it feels like it comes natural. I forget how hard I had to work back in the early days learning how to talk to the camera and do the vlogs. And then, I watch one of my friends try to talk to the camera, and it's like, holy cringy, this is terrible.
That definitely tells you how good you are when you see somebody who's not qualified.
Yeah.
Whatever qualified
and people
is,
like you're close with that that can talk comfortably, and then you see how like, you can't even really describe the way they like it's just weird.
Yeah, they freeze up, kind of gets.
It's funny. It's cringy if you're bad at it, and cringy if you're good at it.
Yeah,
right?
You got to be somewhere in between. But definitely, then don't want to see too much of a Rizzler, as they say.
Yeah.
But I am the Rizzler. I'm here. I'm ready to make the clip and throw the event.
That's awesome. I'm pumped. I can't wait to be there and be a part of it.
Yeah. No, likewise. I think it's going to be extra special having you there.
I'm trying to get the doubleheader this year. Get Canalside and the skate pub crawl.
Yeah,
Try to get both in.
I see. That's the thing about my brother and I and my wife and I. Is all of our gigs are on weekends. I'm either singing or I'm shooting a wedding, and between the two things, like
summer's money time.
I can't do anything.
Yeah.
I can't go to any of the events, and I feel so bad because as somebody who hosts an event, like the first thing I want to do is go to other people's.
Yeah.
Like just to kind of keep that cycle going and show support. But anytime anyone's like, oh, and we're having an event actually too in a couple months, you should come. I'm like, there's no way. I can't do it. But when it's my event and I make the calendar, I can block it off early and build it around my schedule. Yeah. So
I always just try to do events that I think would be cool if someone else did.
Yeah, definitely.
And then hopefully you inspire someone else to do something cool, and then I get to do that.
Yeah, I'm starting to kind of like make that a mantra of mine or a core value of just like, we are who we're waiting for. Like you're sitting around waiting for someone to make this event. It's like, it's you. You have to make the event. Like, so, if you want a cool thing to exist, or if you'd like to go to a cool Halloween party, you should probably just host one, because
I've done it, dude. I've done all the video premieres, the Halloween parties. I have done so much of that stuff. I feel like I'm starting to feel like I've paid enough.
Yeah.
I'm starting
to go to someone
like,
else's Halloween party.
Like, okay, like it'd be real sick. Like I daydream about someone else owning the skate park, and then I could just come and like volunteer, and I could just ride, and I could just help them out, and like.
Yep.
But that's a long time away. Hopefully. The best case scenario is that's a long time before we get there.
Is that our segue into your
maybe, I guess,
into your section? So I did have show notes. I had a great relaxed week. I'm in my slow season right now, so I spent the morning, just kind of like going through your catalog of videos on YouTube and stuff. I scrolled all the way to the very bottom of your social medias and worked my way up. And I feel like it starts in like 2013 that I see, but I'm hoping you can give me like the timeline pre your social media. So I want to know how you became you, like what created the Dave that we know, and what is it?
So you're
what does
talking
that
about me,
look like?
not breaking free.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
I'm trying to unmask you, and would we get to breaking free as the timeline gets there?
That's a really interesting chicken and the egg situation. I've always thought of life in this way. If you are at least content with where you are now, you cannot regret anything that has happened in the past.
Okay. Yep.
So it's like, if everything's good and fine now, like if I regretted that, then I would have done something different. So then I wouldn't be where I was. Because you just don't, it's like that butterfly effect. Like you just don't know.
Yep.
So like, yeah, I could give you this like Instagram influencer, like I had a hard life and I worked so hard and blah, blah. Like, it's like, I really can't tell you if I got here from that or if it's just like, oh, I work hard and I've always worked hard.
Yeah. So I think that's true. I like the idea that, obviously if you're happy where you are now, then everything that you did to get there was important. But is there any bit of it that you want to share that predates social media of like, what made you ride? What made you pick up a guitar? What made you anything that you are now? Like what created that?
I want to preface say that this is something I get emotional about either way, and I had like a really rough week. So
that's
I try to keep it together.
That's great. If you don't want to explore it, you're more than welcome to just pass. But, what better,
again, like
better place than here? What better time than now?
You could infinitely play that game and say, I am who I am because my life was hard. But again, I don't know. Like I've always been creative.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of messed off in school, but my teachers are always like, oh, you're smart. You're a good problem solver. Why don't you apply yourself? And I did kind of learn how to like navigate school and navigate teachers in a way that benefited me without really having to do the work. I was like, oh, I like to learn. Okay, if I can get like D's and be really nice, they wouldn't have the heart to like fail me. Because I would participate in class and I would engage and I was, I liked the problem solving and the creativity and I love the history and all that stuff. And that's kind of how I got through school. So I always had this like, I'm gonna make this work for me. I'm gonna play the game. I learned in school how you like navigate society, right? And I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. I was like selling salt in middle school because there was this like big salt scare when I was in like 7th or 8th grade. Like they thought salt was going to kill you. So they took salt out of the cafeteria. Yeah. So I started bringing salt to school and like selling.
So was that like 2000? Like what year were you in?
This would have been, if it was 7th grade, it would have been 1998.
Okay. So I was close.
Yeah,
it was basically
2000 just seems like a big turning point.
Yeah, okay.
Because like the whole 2000 millennium, like Y2K.
Okay,
and
so late
9/11.
90s though. Where did you go to school? Like where did you grow up?
I'm from New Jersey. So
I heard you say that you moved a couple times, and I was super curious, like where
my big move was to Rochester.
Yeah.
But I lived, I lived with my parents, and we had like a really more or less borderline agrarian upbringing where we lived on this old farmhouse and like really wholesome. Like I was like the only kid that didn't have cable at home.
Yeah.
And eventually I was the only kid that didn't have internet at home. We never had video games. We didn't have soda. We didn't have like candy. We ate every meal together as a family. My dad had a garden, like super. Yeah. Like I'm millennial, but way more Gen X vibes. And
just then, technology-wise, and
just like I had two brothers. We played in the woods. We had bikes. It was just like way more. So the way my demeanor is way more Gen X than millennial, if not older.
Okay.
Then when my parents split up when I was older, my mom just kind of like wanted to party. Frankly, I think is what she wanted to do. Yeah. So then it was like green light to do whatever we wanted. So when I was more like 14. here's the internet, here's a computer, here's the video games, here's whatever. And by the time I was 17, things were really dissolving. And by the time I was 20, I basically lived in a trap house.
Okay.
And it was just like, my mom was an alcoholic, my brothers were all on heroin, and it was just like the house was foreclosed on. We didn't have hot water. It was just like a complete mess, really.
And that devolved from you as a child with two parents on a farm.
Yeah.
Just living.
So like my perspective on life is super unique because I got to have both sides of it.
Yeah.
I got to be a teenager with no rules and do whatever I want, and like that was sick.
Right.
Because
especially for the teenage mind.
Yeah, I was super exploratory.
That's exactly what you want.
Rode my bike everywhere.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "Oh, you can only go this far." I was like, "Okay, bud." I
Yeah.
just did whatever because she was too busy doing her own thing. So I got like unmitigated freedom as a teenager, really wholesome childhood, preteen, and then as I got older, I got to see like kind of like the darkest side of all of that stuff. So that gives me a pretty unique perspective, and obviously. I wasn't just like completely sanguine with the stuff around me, and I always liked riding bikes. But eventually, in my later teen years and early 20s, it was just like the bike was in part your coping mechanism and in part your lifestyle, right? A little bit of both, Even when I was 14 and things were still kind of okay, you still, you're 14, you're searching for an identity. I was like a mall metal kid.
Okay.
Going to the mall on Friday night, the big baggy pants, and all, they're super in right now.
Yeah, they are.
I was like mall metal goth, and like now that's cool, I guess. But when I started riding BMX, I had to transition away from that fashion and everything because you couldn't ride a bike with giant pants.
Okay, I never thought about that.
No, yeah. So I would ride then, just dealing with that like 14-year-old identity crisis crap, trying to figure out who you are.
In Jersey, are you in Jersey still?
It's all Jersey, yeah.
Okay, and did you have like a group? Did you ride with people? Was
was
there a scene?
When I was really young, I just was riding over by the shopping center next to my house. It was when I got into high school. Well, I told this story on the podcast a few times. My bud, the guy who ended up being the dude who showed me BMX, he was in my math class in like 7th or 8th grade, and he had a BMX magazine, and I was like, "What the hell is that?
Right?
What is that? And then I was aware it was a thing more than just me having a little like dirt kicker in the side
I feel like
yard.
a lot of kids have an exposure to riding a bike creatively.
Yeah,
but it doesn't hardly ever lead to actually riding a bike. But in your case, it did.
Yeah. So then I was 14 and like angsty and like mall metal, and like I was in a band, and my friends they just like hang out and suck.
Did you play guitar in the band?
Yeah, I played guitar and sang.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like a punk grunge kind of. I was like a big Kurt Cobain Nirvana kid, which again is really in right now.
Yeah. Do you have any recordings from that time? It was a lot harder to record yourself back then. Let's just throw that out there.
Sadly, all our music was on Pure Volume or MySpace, which are both long gone.
Yes.
So I do have one recording of one song that was a live recording from when we played at this one. Actually, I think it might have been our first show, and it's like so bad I probably wouldn't upload it.
Yeah,
and we did record.
It's for the PC, the
we
private
had like
collection.
a 4-track cassette recorder.
Yep.
And we did record a full cassette front and back with every song we knew.
Oh, nice.
A lot of covers.
Yeah.
And then we duplicated it and sold it, but nobody
has it.
None of my friends, no one has a copy.
That's the worst part about physical media. Is it's really cool in that it's physical, but there's so many good things that were made in like the early 2000s that went to tapes or discs or whatever that are just
They're gone.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, as much as I'd love to hear it, I think the memories of how cool it was would vastly outperform what it would actually sound like.
You go back and you hate yourself, and you're like, why did I listen to that?
But yeah, I was like 14 and doing that whole crap, and I had friends that were starting to get into like smoking pot and doing drugs, and I didn't like any of that, and especially because like what I was seeing going on at home, and then the house where all my dumb friends would hang out was like a street over from where that kid, his name is Tom, who rode bikes were, and once in a while I would hang out with him, and I literally played this experiment. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to talk to my friends for a week. I think they don't give a shit about me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to them for a week, and I'm going to see what happens. And literally that week, I was like, started hanging out with Tom. And, go to his house, we watched bike videos. He had a quarter pipe in his yard, which was like the sickest thing in the world when you're 14.
Yeah.
And none of my friends really reached out to me or cared. Actually, one of my friends became outwardly hostile towards me, like, what the F's going on, dude? What's your deal? You know? And then I was like, oh, so these people actually don't care about me. They just want to get like messed up and like not really do anything. Because like at one point you're like, let's do cool stuff, and then your friends are all like, well, I don't want to do cool stuff. I want to just like sit here and like drink or
Yeah, is there a
smoke.
place we can smoke? Like,
Yeah, like
it just turns to that really quick.
Let's try to like mess up our brains so the stuff around us seems interesting versus like a year ago when we would like go walk over here or let's go follow that creek or whatever it might be. And that's what I was kind of rejecting to. And I started riding BMX.
So you feel like that was kind of a fork in the road of like,
100%,
very
yeah.
easily could have just
Yeah.
partied through your teens and in a trap house and
Well, I always hated the drugs because I just perceived it differently.
yeah.
Because I saw, and I was like, and it goes both ways. I was hardcore straight edge, like super like about it. I dated the same girl for 10 years, and it ended up ending when I moved here, and we had a lot of issues in the beginning because it goes both ways. She was going through a phase where she wanted to get fucked up with her friends too, and I was being like, no, you can't do this. It's so bad, you know. So we both were pushing opposite directions because we're kids, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
And so we dated for like 4 years, and then we broke up. And actually, the guy who got me to BMX, we splitted ways because he wanted to like turn into this party animal, and I was like, "Fuck that! I'm not gonna do that." So he's like, it was super weird and pathological. He's like, "We're gonna break up with our girlfriends, and we're gonna start partying, and we're gonna bang all these girls." And I was like, "I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not about that life." And he broke up. Me and my girlfriend broke up, and he saw that as a signal for him to break up with his girlfriend. Then he broke up and just decided overnight, I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to be this like Lemmy Killmeister character and whatever. And so like that really messed up our relationship. And then he actually hooked up with my ex-girlfriend, and like we just started dating in 2004. And you know, for 4 years, those are like, you know, all your high school years. That person's like your sweetheart.
Yeah.
So like
you've only got so much life to go off of.
And I'm still friends with both of these people now. Mm-hmm. But there was definitely a long period of time where like seemed like irreparable.
So that feels like a little bit of all your friends are kind of letting you down at that point,
yeah.
right?
So
like,
yeah, you fast forward to like when I'm 20, there was this other like huge, and part of it, you know, was like, well, ultimately her and I got back together and we were on and off when she was going to college and blah, blah, blah. And eventually, you know, I'm just working and riding bikes, and start making bike videos. I'm at the shop, I'm doing events, and the bike riding was always there as like, oh, there's the lifestyle, but then there's that coping mechanism, you know?
Yeah.
And that's been with me from the very beginning. And that's why part of the reason why I do the skate park and continue to do the skate park is like people need this place.
Was that always intentional for you, or is that something you kind of looked back on and felt like,
oh, it was always.
I didn't realize that I was getting so much mental health out of biking.
I knew because I felt it. And later on in life, when I started to like read and learn about psychology, I then had more of a language around it.
Yeah,
I could put a framework of, oh, that thing I felt.
Which is actually, everything. Yeah, being able to kind of like understand it and unpack it in that way. I've always been very neurotypical and very steady person. And it wasn't until very recently that I realized how like truly therapeutic or almost like escapist riding can be in the way that what it demands from you mentally, like the level of focus and physical exertion and like the journey that you're on when you're riding, whether it's, you know, I assume it's very similar on a bike, but like you're just in it. In that moment, all you're thinking about is surviving that trick or making that trick work, or, you know, the repetitions that you're going through to get to the end of that trick, or like the whole thing is very all encompassing. I think it's like a social space that you can kind of really just forget about. And it sounds super cliche, and that's how I always perceived it growing up, was that's so cliche to say. Like, yeah. But now as an adult and understanding mental health so much better, I can really recognize that it is that. It's completely therapeutic and an option for escaping something you might be going through. So
I think you'd be hard pressed to find something that would be better for mental health than action sports. If you could just somehow delete the risk of, no, not the risk of injury, delete actually getting injured.
Yeah, but it's tough in that sense, but there's a lot to sacrifice there. But
in the exploratory nature of skating, that's all at your dopaminergic system. That's like trying new stuff. It's new territory. That's one of those systems in your brain that your phone really obliterates. And then like the repetitiveness of dropping in and doing your runs and doing the things you've already done, that's hitting your serotonin system. So it's like, it is very effective in working out both those parts of your brains that nowadays the phones really screw up. But when you're a teenager, like you're all over the place with that stuff. And especially as a teenager, like your dopamine system's going through the roof. But then when you're out there, even just skating a curb or a manual pad, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try to 180 the other direction. I'm gonna try to, like, it's perfect for that. But then when I thought for a second you have to eliminate the risk, but you can't eliminate the risk because the balancing the risk, the dealing, in looking at the face of the adversity and managing that risk is just as critically important. That's the one thing that our kids are getting really screwed on now is this like safetyism. They have to be able to manage risk on their own. We like pull the kids away from all of that. And skating is so perfect because you have to look in the face of I could fall.
Right.
You have to think about what could go wrong. So you know what to do.
Accepted that before you start, basically.
Now people act like you could never get hurt, you could never fall, everything's gonna be all right. And the problem is, when you're a kid, the cost of failure is low. The cost of getting hurt is low, and you're supposed to learn those things and experience those things when that cost is low. But if you don't, if you wait till you're like in your 20s, these things are completely devastating. And they're completely devastating when you're 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, 12. But then they start to dull out. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like skating is like, well, when you're new to skating is mostly failing. Yeah. That's why it's so...
I mean, it continues to be mostly failing sometimes. It depends on what kind of day you want to have.
That's why people are completely awestruck when you get a really talented skater, like Kevin, who's in the chat.
Oh, he's good.
Or Donofrio. When you see a skater just land trick after trick, it's like astonishing because you never see, like, holy crap, what did they put in? Like you can extrapolate how much work they put in because you know how hard it is yourself, right? Yeah.
It's interesting, especially with people who flip the board. There's a level of
unbelievable,
profound awe that inspires in me just seeing that. Also, just how it just feels like they just believe. Just believe everyone's going to work out, and it does. And it's mind-blowing to me sometimes with the amount of effort that I have to put into to make some of those things work mentally, where I'm like, man, I could have kickflipped that set first try if I just believed. But I kicked it away 8 times before I finally tried to put it down on the 10th try. And it's like, it's crazy.
When Kevin was on the show, we talked about, I actually quoted him to see if he'd realize it was a quote he said. Yeah, and it was from a video I made.
Yeah. He's like, did I say that?
Yeah, I made a GoFundMe video. And in that video, I talk about exactly what you just said, to go back to your question, that it's like, I've always cared about it. And like, it's really important. And I didn't really have the language then like I do now. Yeah. Like if you compare, I always said on my 10-year anniversary, I'm going to put out that GoFundMe video and it's hilarious because like, it's terrible at talking to the camera and all this shit.
Yeah.
But you compare that now to like that clip when I was on the news that's pinned on our Instagram now, like I have the language. I can articulate exactly what it is in a far more effective way now because then it was more just like passion and like I feel it, it's right. To where now it's like, no, I understand it and I can tell you why. I can support it, with psychology and
you're a wiser wizard these days, which is, it's interesting. You always think, like I've believed when I was 18 that I had everything I needed, and I believed it again when I was 25, and now I'm 31 and I believe I've got it mostly figured out, and I know that when I'm 35 I'll rethink that, and when I'm 40 I'll rethink that again, and it's amazing what just time on earth does for...
One of my like life, I don't know, philosophy, mantra, I don't know what the word is, but like my goal is I want to be able to look back on myself 3 years ago or 5 years ago and think, man, I was kind of an idiot then.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it.
It means you have to have momentum forward. You have to be learning. You have to be getting better. Yeah. And I don't know.
That's very reverse in the way that I've thought about it previously, but I think it's reverse in a profound way, because normally I feel like what people would say is, if yourself 5 years ago could see you now, they'd be so proud and excited. And it's like, that's a very optimistic way to put it. But the way that you put it, if you could see yourself 5 years ago, you have to believe you're an idiot. Like, that's such a...
I want to think I was an idiot. And the thing is...
I didn't probably say that correctly, but...
You think back to how you thought 5 years ago, and presuming you've changed and your opinions have evolved and you've learned more. Yep. And assume my presumption that you were an idiot is right. God, I lost my train of thought.
Well, to jump in and bring you back, every time I forget something, if I just go back and do whatever I was doing, I always remember it. I had said that, like, most people would want to look back and say, oh, I'd be proud of myself now, but to have done it in the opposite and say that you want to look back and think that you were so dumb back then, it's like, that's a very interesting way to think about growth. And I'm reading a book right now about rethinking. I think it's called Think Again, if I'm not mistaken. Forget the author's name.
That makes sense.
But yeah, but it basically goes through and explains that like being scientific about your life and about things and essentially rethinking everything that you think as often as is possible is like the most beneficial thing you can do. And the more you rethink your opinions or you rethink what you know, your chances of success are like exponentially higher. So, for example, we talked about like the Breaking Free channels and why we think, or why I'd said why I believe, you know, that's the perfect plan to grow the channel. It's like if I don't ever update that, I've lowered my chances of success like tenfold. If I just believe that I have the perfect plan and I never rethink the plan, how does it get any better? How does it reform? So,
Well, you have to presume you're wrong to learn anything new.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So being scientific like that and to look back and to believe that, wow, I was so dumb to think that. It's like it's almost a pessimistic way to say it, but I think it is rethinking, it is growth.
The point I was going to make
Yep.
was it's about the confidence we all have with what we believe. Like I think about how wrong I used to be about so many things and how confident I was in being wrong in those things. Pick anything about it could be action sports or politics or life or whatever.
And that's like chapter 2 in the book. So
and
you're spot on.
I try so hard. Like I'm always giving the devil its due all the time, no matter what it is. I'm always trying to find like this balance. Like it can't just be black and white. Nothing's black and white. And that's how I think in my own head. And I try to extrapolate that out to other people. And like my wife will tell you, it's probably really annoying because I'm always like, well, that guy could be this, it could be that. You don't really know,
Yeah.
And to what you said also, I find something I use as a barometer for trusting people is if their opinions have changed, especially if it's in a public manner. Like I used to think this way, I used to think that way.
Yeah.
Right? Like when it comes to like my favorite economist, I talk about him all the time. His philosophy on life had totally changed. Like he has written books and completely changed. And some people say, "Oh, that's a criticism." And I'm like, no, that shows his thought process can evolve. If I want to read a book from someone and they've been writing books for 30 years and they've never changed their opinion, I'm like, oh,
right.
So the likelihood of them being that right about everything is actually zero.
You would love this book for how much it's going to validate everything you already believed, and not to be counterproductive to what you had said, but I would think that you have read this book based on the way that you're speaking. So, and it's a New York Times bestseller. So,
Think Again.
Think Again. Yep, I forget the author's name, but that sounds right up your alley. So you had mentioned your wife there, and I wanted to double back on that because I think it was like 2 years ago, I had just had a quick conversation with you signing into the park, and you had mentioned your wife, and I was like, what? Dave has a wife? Like, what? And I think that's so easy to do because you did successfully separate your personal life from your business. Yeah. And so since we're unpacking Dave, I was just curious. First, I wanted to say shout out to your wife for essentially also giving her life to this skate park, because I know that's not easy to do. So just huge round of applause for that. But can you tell us more about your wife and how you met her? And
she's going to be on the show one day.
That was going to be my next question.
We have I'm going to get emotional. We have a wonderful relationship. Like I don't think it could be any better. Like both my wife and my daughter are like, I don't think I could tell you any way it could be better than it is.
I love that.
So I do want to do an episode once with her and like just have us kind of talk about what we do and how much we've grown together. Because so many young men that come here, they're like clueless about what to do or how to talk to girls or what to even look for. And there's like so much conflicting information that's all seemingly terrible.
Sure.
Yeah, we quietly got married. Like I'm not one for the spotlight or anything. And we did a small thing with our family. And we actually didn't even tell some people it was a wedding. We just told them we were having like a get together when they got there.
You just surprised them with it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And this might be too much to say out loud, but like we're not legally married.
Yeah, I mean,
but like legal marriage is a relatively new phenomenon.
Yeah.
Like we got married.
As someone who is legally married, that whole process is very, it's extensive and exhaustive, but also so arbitrary in some ways that it's like,
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, Well, one, I'm pretty libertarian, and I don't really see why the government needs to be involved in almost anything. So that's one argument. The other one is just owning a skate park that doesn't make money. It's probably financially smarter for her to legally not be tied to me.
Yeah.
Especially with the liability and stuff. And if I had one good year, the COVID year, and like my insurance was like ridiculous because I made money one year, and otherwise I make so little money I always get free insurance. So generally the math.
Do you mean your personal health insurance?
Yeah, my personal health insurance.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's dude. You either if you make zero, it's free. If you make any little bit above that line, it's expensive, and it's very,
part of not
very
being
discouraging.
Part of not being legally married is just to insulate her from, the liability of owning a skate park, because that's how it is.
Yeah,
sucks,
that's fair. I don't think there's any.
We're more or less married in, I guess, like how used people do it, in the eyes of God or whatever. We don't. Her and I don't exactly believe the same thing, and I don't think either of us really believe in a traditional God. But we called it a hitching festival, hitching ceremony, and like we talked and we did this thing where we held hands and we tied a ribbon around each other.
Yeah.
Phil, who you mentioned, he married us.
He officiated it?
Yeah,
I love that. Awesome. You did a little hand fasting?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just married my friend in September of last year. And I did a hand fasting and the whole thing. So and as a wedding photographer, I'm very
I can tell you a story that happened this week. I think it'll really kind of pull it all together. We use this app called Paired. It's like a couples app. And this is such a great couples story because apparently she said we should do this, and I was like, nah, that shit's gay. I'm not doing a dumb app, And then like way later on, because I was like, we don't need this app to have meaningful conversations, because I love having meaningful conversation. And then later on, I was listening to a podcast, and they talked about it, and Phil listened to the same podcast. He's like, oh, I think me and my girlfriend are going to use that app, and I was like, yeah, the guy in the podcast made a compelling story, So I went to her and I was like, hey, like, you ever heard of this Paired app? And she's like, yeah, I told you about it. And I was like, well, maybe we could do it. She's like, well, why do you want to do it now, Dave?
Yeah.
Why do you want to do? Who told you about it? And so
in a way that only a wife could.
Yeah.
So kind of bust you on it.
So we do this couples app, and it's the free version. You get one question a day.
Okay.
And you can't see the answer until they answer. Like, you have to answer to see their answer, kind of deal. And sometimes they're really stupid and like cringy, like Gen Z questions that I don't even understand.
Well, cringe is relative. I think we explored that a little bit.
And sometimes they're great. And more recently, they had a question, and it was like, was it the regret? I think it might have been like, do you have any regrets? Or we already talked about regrets. But I said in my answer, I said, I wish I met you sooner. But then you can comment below and extrapolate. Mm-hmm. I told her, that's actually a lie, because we've progressed and matured so much together. She's not the person I was when I met her.
Right.
And like, I don't know who she was before that. And again, that's what I said earlier about like this, like regrets and not knowing what happened. Like, maybe I could have met her 10 years earlier and she was a totally different person. Like, I may have met her then and be like,
yeah.
All I knew is like she was the chick that worked at the burrito joint when I moved here, and I was like, okay, chick's kind of cute.
Is that the story?
Yeah, and then I was like, oh man, she's pregnant. Damn,
Mm-hmm. And here you are.
Yeah, and I guess this podcast will let me know if she actually listens to this.
Because she'll be like, hey.
Yeah. So like, I can't. So I said, it's that's how I would say the romantic thing, like, I wish I met you sooner.
Yeah.
Because that's awesome and romantic. But then I'll be like, I'll out myself as being too practical. Well, we wouldn't have really known each other. But
right.
I wasn't the person that, I had to be open-minded enough to like have this whole thing, because like, she had a kid, and she was, we were dating for a while before she was technically legally divorced.
Okay.
And that's a whole other thing, states involved or whatever.
Yeah.
But she's awesome. And I encouraged her to engage in her passions. And she does. She teaches bar, which is like Pilates kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
BARRE.
Yep.
And she liked doing bar. And I was always like, you need to find, again, this dovetails so nicely, because it was like, you need to have that meditative space where you're engaged, but not totally engaged, where it's like you're working out your brain a little bit and your body, but you can think about stuff, but you can't like beat yourself up into the weeds, because you still have to kind of do something.
Yeah.
And I was like, find that thing. We tried mountain biking, and she tried this. I think she ran a little bit, and then she always kind of liked dance, and she got into bar, and she loved it, and then she was training to teach Pilates, which is a far more intense
Okay.
process. And then the bar studio in Pittsford had like a whole thing that happened there where like, half their people quit and they're desperate and they're like, well, you do the training and it's quick and we'll pay for it. And okay, so now she teaches bar.
Wow. Okay. And that's the thing now. That's
Yeah,
that's
she doesn't really like it. It's funny.
really.
Well, I told her, I was like, oh, what is it? Okay, how often? How long's the class? How much you get paid? And I did my robot Dave, and I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna be worth it. And she's like, well, I want to,
Yeah.
chicks are, and so she did the whole thing, and she loved the narrative of getting into it. Now that it's a regular routine, and the pay isn't really good, and she has to learn different routines for different classes. So it's not just like the 50 minutes she's teaching.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
there's like a underneath.
yeah, and then we're
type
trying to
of
get the baby to
commitment.
bed, and then
Yep.
she's trying to like learn the routine. And I told her, well, once you know the different pieces, then it's just what order are these pieces, right? So it'll get easier in time. But now she's like, I don't know if this is worth it
Yeah.
because
Well, I think sometimes you have to explore the things to know whether they're worth it or not.
100%.
Yeah, so it's like having done it all, now you can finally, now that you're in the swing of it, decide for yourself whether or not
8 years having a skate park, not a great
exactly
idea.
right. Now, I got to back out of this. I don't think it's worth it. And that's how funny for you to say to her, it won't be worth it. It's like,
So I'm super
Okay,
mechanical
Dave.
like that. I'm like this. Yeah. Oh yeah, that'll get old.
have
real
you
quick.
ever done one of the classes?
No, but I.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So now you're probably going to have to since
I've
talked you
done. I
into
don't
it.
know if I did a Pilates class with her. No, I did a Pilates class at the Y with her once,
Mm-hmm.
and we did a yoga class at the Y once.
But have you let her instruct?
So that would
the
be
class
weird,
to
I don't
you?
know.
Would it? I mean,
We've done yoga. We used to do a ton of yoga at home, and I'd let her like kind of lead or whatever.
yeah.
She's like unbelievably flexible compared to.
Are you generally the type of person who likes to
hate it?
be in charge and not be taught, or are you?
I want to be
a
the
good
only.
student?
I want to lift weights and be the only person in the gym, or be mountain biking by
yeah,
myself.
I saw the weights in here, and it reminded me. I used to manage a Journey shoe store very briefly,
Oh, wow.
and I brought weights in because I was there 50 hours a week, and I'm like, if I could just after
some
I open,
curls?
if I could just do some curls,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I could make some extra use of this time.
Yeah, I don't like the organized classes. I don't like that everyone's
Yeah.
doing the same thing. I just want to like be in my space
Yeah,
and do my thing.
that checks out. I feel
I
like
also would have very little interest in teaching any sort of class like that.
of like a public like. You sure? Because I could see you with a headset on, putting on the
Yeah,
Narwhal
a
persona.
spin class.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go. Yeah, come on, guys, keep grinding.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that can't be too different than summer camp, Dave.
Yeah. No. Which is, my wife and I have like a perfect mix of being similar and different, right? Because you can't be too similar and you can't be too different.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And we honestly like almost never fight. And what we consider fights are like not really.
You just want to have deep communicative discussions. You don't want to be.
Well, kind of. I actually pretend.
No, you don't want to do that.
No, we do.
Okay.
When we do have issues, I used to be really kind of cold and calculated, and
I can relate.
that doesn't work.
No, definitely not.
So, and that would just make her madder. So I actually kind of lean into it now, where I like almost pretend I'm more upset than I am, because there has to be like a narrative to these
Why are
things.
you giving away your secrets?
You have to, you have to like let you both kind of rise in anger, and then it simmers back down, and you can have the conversation, But like we do a lot of stuff where like I'll check in, and we'd be like, 1 to 10, how do you feel emotionally supported? Do you feel romantically supported? Do you feel sexually supported? And so those are three different things, And then we'll like usually around New Year's, even though I don't believe in New Year's, but usually around New Year's we'll like make 1 year predictions, and I have like in my
So
phone
It's
notes.
okay to believe in New Year's, Dave. You can,
Yeah, no.
you can believe in the calendars.
Bullshit. I believe in one calendar. It's the Jimmy calendar,
Okay, I look forward to looking at that.
which is still on March.
Okay, I love that.
We have like 5-year predictions I have in my phone and notes, and like we check in, and that's how I was up front. I was like, this is who I am, and this is where I'm at in my life, and I don't want a relationship, and now we're married. But,
yeah,
things can
that's-
change. But very dry. Like it feels dry and weird at first, but now that's how we operate. It's like,
I think you can be a dry, weird guy, with all due respect, Dave.
no, well, like
I
I'm
think you can. Man.
contrary to the skate park persona. I am. Like my wife, one of these questions in this app was like, "What were you most surprised about, Dave?" And it's like how goofy I am.
Yeah.
And most people don't think I'm a goofy guy,
Yeah.
especially here. But like, I'm super romantic and goofy and all that stuff in the right settings. It's just I don't think that's something you necessarily do in front of other people. It's like you have to.
Yeah, I think it's I think there's 100% layers to you, and I feel like I've learned that more over the last like 2 years than any of the other 8 years I've been coming here, which is crazy to have spent 6 years walking by you, and then the last 2 years getting to understand.
I feel like more the last 6 months, really. We kind of
sure,
really
sure,
opened
yeah.
up.
But I mean, I feel like it was maybe last season that I was like, I think he knows who I am. I think he remembers me. Like
I remember you guys from Rasp, dude.
Yeah, well, how do I know that?
Yeah.
I never had a conversation with you until the last couple of years. So that's what I'm getting at with the layers of like, I also feel like sometimes social situations can have momentum in either direction. There's a very like cynical, introverted mindset of like, well, I'm not going to say, hey, they didn't say hey. Or I don't have to talk, he's not talking. Or I'm just going to look at my phone because they're looking at their phone. It's like this very kind of like silent, agreed upon just decision to not communicate with people around you. It's very 2020 of people to do, but the way we all sit at waiting rooms on our phones and don't look at each other and don't talk to each other, we all silently agreed we weren't talking. And then there's these other people who kind of break that norm and are very outgoing. And I feel like with you, for example, I took the silent, tired Dave and just accepted it for 6 years. And it wasn't until like the last 2 that I feel like I've just, you give you just a little bit, you'll open up and you'll have a full conversation with people. And I think it can be difficult when you're the one who's doing every single thing for this skate park to also put people's social needs on your list of priorities. Like I can understand the exhaustion and kind of just like $20.
Used to be 15.
I know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny is one of my absolute favorite things about the job is talking to my customers.
And I think there's so much value in customers getting that from you too, when it comes to like how we feel when we're not at the skate park about whether or not we're going to go. It's like, I don't know. My boy Dave's there. I'm going to go see him. He's probably just sitting there waiting for me to come.
I get more bummed I don't see my homies than the $20. Like obviously I need the $20 to pay my bills, but it's like I look forward to like that little 2-minute conversation with all my like I want to check in with you know whatever. Like we have these mini conversations. I mean, I feel like a lot of people that work in any sort of retail environment know exactly what I'm talking about. You're waiting to see that guy you see once a week, and you pick up where you left off, you know, and you're just slowly. It's like playing chess over mail. People used to do that.
Yeah, did they really?
Yeah, you'd mail your move to someone, and they get
it's like playing skate over the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's value to being outgoing in that sense. I think your socials are leading to that too, in that people are kind of getting to understand that like, oh no, there's a lot to offer there from Dave. Like he's got a lot of layers to his personality, and that's sort of coming from what you had said about your using that app and kind of being a good partner. It's like, no, there's more than just skate park Dave. And that's why I had started with like, I want to explore the storyline that isn't a skate park. Cause I feel like we can talk about skate park metrics a lot. It's very easy to do. That's where we're at. We're in the skate park. But how often do we talk about like personal Dave and like what gets Dave going? Like what kind of music is he listening to every day? What's his relationship like with his wife, who I didn't know existed until last year when he casually just said, my wife.
We got married last year, so.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. So then it was that's fun to drop though when you first get married, right? Where you're like, oh, my wife.
You go, oh, my girl.
Yeah.
Wife.
Yeah, and it feels right though.
You know?
But yeah, it's like those little pieces. That's what I'm trying to pull out from you.
It's interesting. You just made me. This is an idea I'm probably going to think about for like a week. I get like obsessed with ideas, like people get songs stuck in their head. It's like there was like a second timeline, a second reality going on where it's like I always tried to make the skate park not about me. It was always about the skate park. But then the conversations that I just told you I look forward to having with people, it's like, actually, no, it always was to some degree about me.
It kind of...
Not about me, but about like the relationships.
Yeah, it almost contradicts that message that you originally started with of like, oh, it won't be about me though. It's like, but it
has to.
But
be,
it is.
Right? There's a reason that the vibe is here, and and the vibe that's at Black Mamba's at
Right,
Black Mamba.
and that's why I want you at Skakejam, because the park is about you, and having you sponsor the event every year since we started it, and it being such an important skate park to me, it's like I want Breaking Free Skatepark to be at Canalside Skatejam. And I think other people would enjoy seeing that too. And I think that extension of like, yeah, he's not just like on the flyer. He didn't just casually like, he's here. He's like, there's Dave, and everyone will know you. And you'll see a lot of people that come to ride and be like, dude, sick. There's Ethan Smith. He's here too. Like, how cool.
I do get a weird vibe when people see me in public, not behind the counter.
Like at Wegmans or something. Like
sometimes at Wegmans. Yeah, Wegmans. Yeah.
Call it
or like I got to dinner with my wife or something.
My brother calls it getting recognized.
Recognized.
So if someone's like, "Oh, you're in the Ende Brothers, right? You're one of the Ende Brothers." He got recognized. So
I've a couple things I want to bring up, but sidebar. I had that happen to me the other day in like the most weird way. I was at there's a bar over here on East Main called Carol's. It's an Irish dive bar.
Didn't Blaze just mention Carol's?
Yes.
Okay.
We go there on Mondays a lot. It's just an old school Irish dive bar. There's on Monday nights they have these jams. It's like Celtic music, just, flute and fiddle.
Yeah.
And
I can't believe there's enough people
it's
that
really
that
really cool and unique. I was there the other night because I heard a rumor that one of the old heads that's been going there had passed away. They're like, you should go tonight. There's gonna be a lot of people. Like the music's gonna be bumping. And unfortunately, by the time I got there, the music was really winding down. But it was a really cool, memorable night because this guy was playing music at the bar, and it was like this crazy dude from Dublin who lived in Australia and traveled the world in these bands, and just like crazy guy.
Yeah.
That's separate. But there's this middle-aged dude at the bar, comes up to me, and he's just like this 55 looking just guy, and he's like, You're the skate park guy, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I watch all your videos. I love your videos. And it's not like like a 12-year-old scooter kid. It's like this is this grown ass man.
Last person
and he's like, I haven't skated in like 20 years, but I've been following the channel. I love all the videos.
Hell yeah. That's sick. Those are cool, gratifying moments too when you hear the people that are watching that you'd never know. So on Twitch they call them lurkers.
Lurkers, okay.
Yeah, so someone who watches your stream but doesn't chat.
Okay.
They never say anything that they're there. They just lurk.
Okay.
So lurking can be something that you do as an active user if you're in the background and you're choosing to, I don't know, do your homework. I'm just going to lurk for a bit. But so for example, my parents split in like 2002. I would have been in second grade. And in 2007, my dad moved to Florida. And I low-key never heard from him again until I saw him once in 2012. And then he became an avid lurker on my Twitch streams. So now my dad, who I don't have a close relationship, is spending hundreds of hours silently watching me stream music. And so even getting that as like a...
How do you know it's him?
He told me. He came to my wedding later on. Twitch basically brought him actively back into my life because he was lurking in my Twitch streams. So if you think about that, it's
he was keeping tabs on you from a distance.
Yeah, exactly. So he found his way into my streams, and he has spent hundreds of hours watching me play music, which he's never really seen me do because of Twitch, but he did it silently. And so I didn't really know he was watching until we had eventually talked a little bit about it. And then he had told me like, dude, I watch, I'm always on there. Like he knew everything about it. He knew every little piece. And so it's kind of like that random dude in the bar that he's been watching all your shit. And you're like, dude, you've been lurking my shit? I love that.
And it's just like a Monday night at an Irish dive bar.
And this guy's been lurking all your shit.
Weird.
Yeah. It's sick though. It's sick that it's like 10% scary, but 90% cool.
Yeah. I was going to say before when we were talking about this other stuff, I'm trying to be better with like the, resting bitch face sitting at the counter stuff.
Which is tough, but.
And Stevie being around the park has really helped. I don't know if he'll listen this far into it. He always says he listens, but I don't think he does.
I mean, they're pretty long. It's fair.
He's extraordinarily outgoing. He's probably in like the 98th percentile.
Will you do a song to my trick?
Yeah. That's Stevie.
Yeah.
And frankly, when he's around, the productivity goes down despite what he thinks. But the morale is through the freaking roof.
Yeah,
he's like
just
awesome,
fun to be around.
Awesome to have around.
Yep.
And he's just like, God, every customer, dude, thank you so much for being here. And I'm
Crazy,
dude.
And
I'm like trying my best to channel Stevie.
Yeah, no, keep it up because it matters. And I feel like for me to have come for as many years as I did and not know if you even knew who I was, like that's Damn, that's crazy that there was that much of a wall
It's
there.
funny. I always remember you guys because your band and the hair metal
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And we were there. I mean, we've been skating Rochester Indoor Park since
Forever,
Extremes.
yeah.
So it's like we go
Yeah.
way back. We don't have anything else. That's
Yeah.
why this place matters, because
Yes.
there's no private warehouse in Seneca Falls. We
Yeah.
couldn't sustain one if we tried. So
Yeah.
I drive an hour here every Sunday and skate through the winter. And yeah, it matters. But the interaction, like that level of customer service, I think would really maybe open up that side of you to a lot of extra people.
It's changed a lot too, because the Stevie thing and having my daughter changed everything. Like I don't know. It's, when you have a kid, it's different. Like the connect. It's kind of similar when you start a business. You automatically have a bond with everyone that started a business, and people who like manage a business think you have the same bond. And it's like no, F off. Like you didn't,
Yeah.
know, like you didn't jump off the cliff. Your ass isn't on the line. And when you have a kid, it's kind of the same thing. There's definitely like, it's really nice. Like everyone loves to talk about their kids, so I love asking people about their kids now.
Yeah.
So I always did this for kids, and I love the kids, but there's a depth to it now that didn't exist before. That definitely makes. My friend Amy bust my balls about this today. She's like, "Oh, you're softer now," and I'm like, "I'm not softer." And I was thinking about it, I'm like, "Oh, I'm totally so
Yeah.
much softer now because I have my daughter." But
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
No, definitely. I think it's that element of like being able to relate to people and also kind of have that's like a whole different lens to see the world through. So I don't have a kid yet, but when I do,
You're
can ask me
going to
about
be a
it.
great dad.
Thank you. I appreciate that because it's the corner's in sight. I'm rounding that corner eventually. I'm 31 and
Send it, dude.
yeah, I mean, we talk about it every day, but it's like
If you wait for the perfect time, it'll never be the perfect time.
that's what I hear. But I also know
but
that
also,
I was an idiot 3 years ago.
oh,
You know what
my
I mean? So it's
God.
like if I give myself another 3 years, just think about how much less of an idiot I could be.
Yeah, but
Think
you
of the
could
systems I
you
can
could
put in place.
overthink it with kids for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem is most people think too much.
Well, I think that what's happening right now is the shift in perspective for me of just seeing, like being at the park after Tots on bikes
Tykes on bikes,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah, I know the name, I swear. It's different to look at that and to feel more like the parent, obviously, than the kid. Of course, the kid's very young and
Yeah.
Tykes on bikes, but to have the parent's perspective and to look at now when I do things, if I go on a trip with my wife and we're going to sit at the beach, it's like, this might make more sense if there was a little kid here. Like, I think we're burning out our experiences as two 30-year-olds on Earth. I think it's time for us to give somebody else the experience and to be the chaperone of good memories and not just greedily sit on the beach by myself. Like,
I don't think the dinks thing isn't. I don't think it's worth it.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
For those who don't know, it's double income, no kids. That's what he meant there.
yeah.
There's listeners.
And like, yeah, like fun's fun, but there is a depth and complexity that gets added to life and a joy that just
Yeah, stupid
It's not
comparison,
there.
but I say about my my cat where I'm like, if I like watching my cat do cool things this much, imagine if it was my kid. Just how
it's like having a pet and owning a business and all, and then you crank it up a bit.
Yeah.
And like, I can understand why this would be so profoundly life changing for people, because most people don't really do anything with much passion.
right.
And like, I've spent my whole life doing things with a lot of passion.
Are you ever
and-
jealous of those people? Do you ever have that moment of like, man, I wish I didn't care about anything so I could
No,
just
it's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, is it? Sometimes it looks
No, it's
pretty
horrible.
good. As a fellow person who has only ever done things that they cared about, I remember being a teenager and putting all my time, money, and energy into music, and looking at my friends who just would take their paycheck and go buy weed and a system for their car, and
Never.
I was just like, damn, I can't imagine what it'd be like to be him. That'd be crazy. I have no money. I put it all into recording my first album. Like, and it just, the cycle continues of like the people who have salaried positions, and we're out here booking weddings and booking gigs and, you know, keeping the engines flowing. But
I've grinded.
yeah,
I never stopped grinding. I've always been grinding.
never even thought to yourself, man, should I just get a job and just chill out? And
No,
okay,
F that,
You're
dude.
built different then.
it's always been like this project, the next trip, the next whatever.
Yeah,
like
thinking in webs.
always. Yeah. And it was always like, it was about me and my bike, then it was about me and my friends and our bikes, and it was like me, I started working at the bike shop, me and like the local scene.
So
and then
the bike shop, did you move to Rochester to work in a bike? Like, what was the move?
I moved here to work for Rasp.
Literally.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
You didn't
So
know
that's when I'm trying to get this timeline going. So you moved here to work for Rasp, and that was when Rasp started? Because give me the timeline of that, because it gets a little blurry for me between Extremes and Rasp.
I'll try to make this as quick as possible. I've told this spiel a million times.
Okay, I apologize for not having done that.
But the thing is that you can't really make it too short.
Okay.
I ran the bike shop for, this is funny. Like this, every entrepreneur is like this, every business owner, they have like, they craft like the nice story of how it happened, right? So I'll give you the nice story, which is a little bit of massaging to make it sound cool. I ran this bike shop in Jersey for 7 years.
Okay.
I took a shop that didn't really do BMX and made them one of the biggest BMX shops in the country. I had a team. We did jams, all of it. Crazy. On top of being like the dude that like ran circles around everyone else in the shop, I ran the whole BMX department. The guy that got me into riding, I mentioned earlier, he
Tom.
was friends with Joe Camparelli, who was we were the three people in our town that rode BMX. And Joe knew someone in Rochester. His name was Jake Van Reenen. And that was our Rochester connection. So when I was really young, I don't know, maybe 15 or 16, we took a trip up here. And then we would come at least once a year, every single year, if not twice a year. And we made a lot of friends up here.
Yep.
The street riding was phenomenal. And no one up here really rode street. There's a park scene.
Yeah.
So the spots were great. It was great for filming clips. Awesome. And, Kink was here. I knew guys that work at Kink and all this stuff. And so I actually was at Rasp before Rasp even opened, because I was here in 2010, and
just on the low.
Our friend Roman was doing the drywall work over there in the bathroom, and we came in to like look around. I all the concussions and years of, even though this is way before I was drinking, but years of drinking and concussions and bike riding, everything blurs. I don't remember anything about being here. I just know I was here before it opened, and I remember Roman doing drywall. That's all I remember.
Okay.
So then years later, they had been open for 3 years. So this makes like 2013. Things weren't working for them. They were falling into debt. They were trying to find someone who could help.
Yeah.
And, Sean Sealer, who was working here at the time, was like, hey, do you want to come run a skate park? And I'd been at the bike shop for 7 years, and I was like, that sounds pretty
cool,
sick,
yeah.
And at this point in time, the girl who I dated forever, we were actually, she was home from college. She was done with college, and we were probably in the best functioning version of our relationship we ever had. And I was like, I think I'm going to move to Rochester, And she talked about moving. And I'm like, well, here's an opportunity, And
yeah.
she was going to move with me, and she came up here, and I interviewed the guys at owners of Rasp interviewed me.
Yep.
And her and I checked out the city and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, cool, I think we're going to move here. She ended up getting like cold feet and was like, I'm not going to move there, And was like, I'll look for work, and if I find a job, then I'll come up, And then eventually that turned into, I'm not looking for a job, and I'm not coming up,
yeah.
Which is obviously devastating. But I moved here, started working at Rasp. Again, this is 12 years ago. We're a month and 5 days from my 12-year anniversary of being here.
Okay.
And I started to work at Rasp. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I thought I had all these great ideas. And a lot of them probably weren't great ideas.
Okay.
But what ended up happening is I didn't get along with one of the owners. Not Blaze's dad.
Okay.
He was one of the owners. Tony, the other owner, and I didn't really get along. And he wouldn't let me really do anything or change anything, which I totally understand as a business owner. It's really kind of crazy and scary to let someone else make a decision for your business. But at the same time, you hired me to do this?
Right. That's a classic problem with owners and people they hire.
Yes, and as my relationship was deteriorating and things weren't getting better at the skate park, I definitely didn't handle that well.
Okay.
I definitely was like bitter. It's probably the worst mental health I ever had in my entire life. I moved to a new city. I was super homesick. I was like trying to figure out who I was, And the owner tried to like micromanage me to kind of like prove he had like this control over me. I got to do what he says, and I didn't handle that well at all. So I started like being a dick about it back to them, and then they fired me, which fair enough, Then they tried to give the skate park away to, and I don't know if this has ever really been public information, but they tried to give the skate park to what was then called Rock City Skate Park. Now it's called the Friends of the Rock City Skate Park. So that nonprofit board, basically the owner said, hey, I'll give you this if you can figure out how to make that happen. So we actually disbanded as a board. The Rock City, and this is when this downtown skate park project was just completely stalled out. Nothing had happened in years, like nothing.
Yeah.
So then it was just the president, who was Jim Madison at the time, Alan Prizzuti, who's been on the show, and myself, and then we started investigating, can we do this? And we couldn't. And we couldn't because of the grant we got from the Tony Hawk Foundation, which is now called the Skate Park Project, which is them who've partnered with the Ralph Wilson Foundation that got Medina, Parrington, Rochester.
It's crazy, they're all popping up.
Greece, Parma, there's like 2 in Buffalo. All these are coming from that. But the grant language was strictly, you cannot do anything that involves any sort of payment, flat out, full stop, no.
Gotcha.
So this guy, Trevor, who still works for that project, basically got involved, sent us this really passive-aggressive email that was like, hey, if you guys think you could do this, by all means, go ahead and try it. I don't think it's going to work, and you'll have to pay back the grant that we paid to you. A second timeline is you can try to do both projects, which will be even harder, and you'll certainly fail, and you'd still have to pay us the grant back because it's against the rules of the grant. And the third thing is you abandon this indoor skate park project and refocus on your core vision, and you don't have to pay the grant. Because at that point in time, it was the longest open grant the Tony Hawk Foundation had, period.
Okay, that checks out, understanding the timeline of...
And actually, this is what shook everything loose. Jim Madison, the president at the time, said, well, here, Trevor, here's all the points of context. Here's all the times we talked to him, and here's all the conversations we had. It's all documented here, and nothing has happened. And that guy just started calling people, called every person on the list, including the mayor, and left messages, and no one answered. But that shook some cobwebs loose, and the mayor got in contact with the commissioner of parks and recreation, Danielle Lyman Torres at the time, and she contacted us, and we're like, well, what the fuck's going on? And then all of a sudden the ball started rolling again, and that's actually a big turning point in the downtown park getting built.
Gotcha. Was basically you guys saying, hey, what can we do with the indoor park? And they're like, well, you can do nothing. And then the chain of communication just reignites, basically. Yeah,
and the Tony Hawk Foundation, which is now the Skate Park Project, they did a podcast briefly during COVID, and they did an episode about indoor skate parks, and it was horrible.
Horrible in what way?
They're super anti-indoor skate parks.
Oh, okay. So you can feel that bias from the email coming through full force.
And I don't really like these terms, but it was totally misinformation.
Okay.
Or they had no clue what it was like. Or they're just like Southern California guys that have no concept of it. It was just ridiculous, but I'll digress from that. So at that point in time, that nonprofit dreams are over. I came back to the owners of RASP Skate Park, and I was like, hey, why don't we try this again?
I remember hearing about the nonprofit maneuver at some point. I just quick oh yeah, Tom was present moment. So go on.
So in the time I was gone, the year and a half, it was probably less than a year and a half. I had some other side jobs and whatever. And you can imagine leaving your life behind, losing a 10-year relationship, losing the job, being in a city you have few friends in, how horrible that must have been. And I was a horrible mess and super depressed and totally drinking way too much. It was a super dark time for me. But all of a sudden, here's the new project. Let's try this thing again. And in that year, the other owner I didn't get along with, he just did the Homer Simpson
back into the
bush. Who's just gone. Yeah. He's not involved anymore. And I was like, all right, cool. So I was like, all right, let's do the freaking thing. And RASP never, this is gonna get rough. RASP never kept any books, which is that's kind of an important thing for a business.
Yeah, it's rule number one.
So I was like, all right, how about, I'll get involved. I'll start keeping the books. Give me 1 year. When I have 1 year's worth of data, then we can try to see if we can extrapolate out some way to like phase you out and phase me in, like to see, we need the data.
Trying to get a valuation for what the business is doing so you can figure out what the transaction looks like. Okay.
So then I came back into the picture, started working, and then quickly found out that their debt had ballooned from around $30,000 to over $100, which they didn't tell me beforehand, which is kind of like, oh, that really changes things. And the other thing is, in the time I was gone, it had come to their knowledge, they had the realization that when you own a business, you kind of are supposed to do income taxes every year, which they hadn't done. And
that's crazy.
These were great people. Despite Tony and I not getting along, he was a really good dude. He had 3 kids. Blaze's dad, Ed, is awesome. They're great people. They had the best intentions.
Yeah, I don't think anybody gets into owning a skate park to make money.
They put so much money and so much energy into it, and it didn't work out. And like I don't know how you make this mistake, but they genuinely didn't do it. They're like, oh, we were doing all our quarterly sales tax and like
that's an interesting
and they didn't thing
to.
So without books and having 5 years of no tax returns, like that's a big mess.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. So now this is over. Like
can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I basically was like, I guess I'm just going to work here. I was also working at Towner's Bike Shop and Bicycle Outfitters Bike Shop in Brockport. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just ride this out. It's decent pay and pretty easy job and it's fun. And then they got served an eviction. And the owner didn't really take it super seriously. And I'm like, no, like this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like this isn't an email. Like someone came
like legal
in,
action against you.
I had to sign. Like this is it. And I took all that to, if you don't remember, Jaden, the BMX kid who's really good. His dad owns a consulting company. And I was like, Jeff, what do I do? And he was like, oh, do this, this, and this. Okay, do that. Call me, whenever you get it done. So like, did it all. Call him next day. I did it. You did it already? Yes, I did it. Now what? Okay, well now you got to take all that data and you want to break it up in a way that it kind of makes sense. So you kind of break it up into these categories and you try to like make like a spreadsheet and then like make that and then you'll come over, on Sunday and we'll look at it. I was like, cool. The next day, I got it done. Can I come over tonight? Wow, okay. Yeah, come over tonight, And he just basically helped me figure out the whole situation, helped me figure out how we got to talk to the property owners. Simultaneously, the owners of RASP brought in the same 2 guys from the Rock City board, and they thought they were going to create a nonprofit organization to take over the skate park. They were going to kind of do what they initially thought they were going to do. And Jeff and I kind of just let them believe their own little story of what they thought was going to happen because he put together this board of these people. He called it like a transition team. And the fairy tale narrative was that like I was going to run the skate park. Alan was going to run the nonprofit and they were going to do programs and they were going to try to take advantage of philanthropic dollars and blah, blah, blah. And frankly, they were never going to do that. They weren't even pursuing it in a really serious manner as far as I was concerned because you can't just set up a nonprofit overnight.
Yeah, and we're talking about the guy who just took all the assignments from the consultant and just like actually executed. Like you're in like a mode of executing.
Yeah.
And you're watching this board come together and it's in kind of haphazard.
It was super fun because we were having these meetings and Jeff would pick me up and it felt like in a movie. He's like, all right, we don't want to talk about this. If they bring this up, we're going to pivot. We're not going to address this, blah, blah, blah. And because all the negotiation with the property company, Buckingham, would be the same whether it was that or this. And then eventually we got to the point where I had to be like, all right, this is the deal.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. It's going to be my skate park. And they're all like blindsided. Oh my God, how could you do that? I'm like, don't worry about it.
I've been operating in the shadows this whole time.
Yeah, don't worry about it, And so what ended up happening is RASP was evicted.
Yeah, okay.
We ran that big party event when RASP closed with the RASP in Peace thing, and we did like a bake sale, and there was crepes, and it was like a potluck, and the Kink was here doing some like balloon game, and we blew out inventory.
Product
and
toss.
Like, it was crazy. Yeah. And over the course of the weekend, we did $10,000 over that weekend, which helped offset the debt, which was huge. When we got to negotiate with Buckingham, basically we had a 3-way agreement that was Buckingham says, okay, as of this date, we no longer have a lien, stake, or claim or whatever on any of your assets, we are releasing them back to you post-eviction under the understanding that you are selling them to Breaking Free LLC or whatever. And then I had an agreement with RAS that says, I am buying all of your assets, everything that's inside the building of 1044 University Avenue as of this date for X amount of dollars, under the understanding that you are then taking that exact amount of money and you are paying it to Buckingham to offset your debt.
Gotcha.
And then Ed actually forgot his checkbook that day, which is hilarious. After all these meetings and all this build up to the moment it all happens, he's like, oh, I forgot my checkbook, which is like, if you know Ed, it's hilarious. And so I actually just wrote a check directly to Buckingham Properties to acquire everything that was left in this building post eviction. And I didn't know all along, but I was motivated all along that this is what we were going to do. So when I sold off all the inventory, I like strategically didn't sell off rental gear. I kept all the tools. There was a lot of things I could have sold. I was like, if I can make this work, these are the things I'm going to need. So, and on top of that, when the sheriffs came in and evicted us, they changed the lock on the front door, but not the second door.
Okay.
So I was coming in here and I was like alone at night, sometimes with friends. Like we started pulling ramps apart. I didn't even know if we were going to negotiate. I didn't know if I was going to be able to sign a lease. All I knew is that I knew the skate park wasn't what I wanted it to be. I didn't think it was sustainable in the layout for a lot of reasons. And I was like, but we got to get a head start. We got to start tearing this shit apart. And I mean, I was in here for like a month. Was there any animosity throughout that transaction of being the person who ultimately ended up with the skate park? Like, do you feel any of that? Was there a ripple created by you essentially sliding in and being like, the non-for-profit's not happening, I'm taking over, I will be the one inheriting or purchasing, or, you know, I will be driving the ship from here on out? Was anybody butthurt is basically what I'm asking? Well, obviously Ed was a little upset because I got what I paid for the skate park is, you know, pennies on the dollar, frankly. But you're talking about a failing business, so. Well, I didn't buy the business. I bought just the assets. Sure, of the business, right? Okay. The business was useless. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And like he wanted more for it, but like in his position, he had zero position. Which feels like exactly what would happen if you had a bunch of skate ramps that you needed to sell. Like you're not making what you deserve. Yeah, and I gave him a hilariously low number, and he was like, "Are you serious? Come on!" And I was like, "Yeah." All right, you know. Yeah. So, but still, like literally, it was literal pennies on the dollar for what they cost to start up. Mm-hmm. And like, that's crazy. So they had to take a loss on the way out, basically. I mean, all in all, we got Buckingham to settle $106,000 debt for, I think, 32 or something. What a real landlord problem to have. That's like so classic that you got to evict somebody. Like, you're not getting your money back. You might as well just take what you can get and forgive them and try to get somebody who will pay the rent. And they did, right? They got you. So maybe it was more than that. I think after the money I paid for the ramps, the $10,000 I raised, I think the business was left with maybe like somewhere between $12,000 and $20,000 debt, which is pretty reasonable if you've accrued like. But that's not for you to handle. No, because I just bought their assets. As a new tenant. Yeah, 100%. That was on them, and I don't know, you know what happened with that because it's frankly not my problem. Right, 100%. I don't know if they filed for bankruptcy or whatever. But that's where the story ends for them, basically. Well, the biggest problem with once they're out of the lease, he could have filed for bankruptcy and it'd been okay. The leases here, it's you have to have a personal guarantee. So even if I filed for bankruptcy for the business, I'm still personally responsible for the lease. Gotcha. And you're locked in until when right now? I got another year and a half or so, 2 years. Wow, time's flying. Yeah. So, like, for example, if Buckingham wanted, they could have gone to RASP or me if I closed and said, okay, no, you owe us all this money and you owe us every single month of this lease up until it ends. You know, so if if it's 10 grand a month and you owe us 10 months, you owe us 100 grand, period. And they had the legal right to put a lien on your house or whatever because you signed that thing saying you personally guaranteed the lease. And Buckingham clearly was super gracious and just let RASP just end. Yeah. When they ended and ate a ton. You know, they probably ate $60,000. Yeah, I mean they probably wisely
they lost that money when it wasn't paid. You
Yeah.
know, like they weren't going to get that money out of this entity.
But they also made me. Well, they wanted me to pay a triple deposit, which was bullshit. And I kind of called them on that because I was like, well, I had to sit down with the director of leasing and the CFO of Buckingham Properties, sweating bullets, and give them my pitch. I had
with
to
a
give
man bun and some skinny jeans.
I had to present my business plan to them,
Yeah.
and that was part of the thing with Jeff involved. He was like, no, I don't care what they say. We're going to give them your business plan first. We're going to make them feel like, oh wow, this guy he's got a good plan. The numbers are there. He looks confident. You know, we led with my credit score because I have a great credit score. He's like, all right, this guy pays his bills. The numbers are there. And then that takes a ton of pressure off. So when they want to negotiate, like, all right, well, we got a tenant to come in behind him.
Yeah, which is all they really want is a good paying tenant.
Yeah, which is just, it's so simple.
Yeah.
And genius. So then when they wanted me to pay a triple deposit, I was like, hey, you saw my entire business plan and you saw my startup capital. And then you're coming here and go, you want to triple this gigantic expense. That's not fair. And they were like, yeah, you're kind of right. So how about a double deposit? I was like, fine.
Yeah. I just want to move in. Can I move in, please? So that's end of 2016.
I officially signed the lease. I think it was like September 30th, somewhere around that time in 2016. I was literally in the space.
Yeah.
Like with people, saws going.
Yeah.
And like he calls me, it's green light, like it's all good. The lease is signed. And I was like, all right, can't wait to get my keys and get in there and go to work. Meanwhile, like we were here every
Ping
night.
The phone, you're literally
every night.
Yeah.
Especially like once, like I said, I was in here alone a bit, but once like the negotiation was going along and I was like, oh, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna get this lease. Green light. We were here every day, just ripping ramps apart, just getting a head start on the whole freaking thing.
Looking back at some of the footage and stuff and seeing the like skeleton version of the park that was when you were first doing those like OG vlogs of like, I got the park now. You can see like half of Rasp is still together, half of it is like completely scrapped and ripped up and gutted, and it's like it's very interesting to look at now. You had said, I think previously on one of the shows, or maybe it was in person, I forget, but like the amount of vlogging you were doing at that time, like so much value there, and you kind of like fell off a little bit, right? I mean, did you vlog all the way up until this point? When was the
I vlogged until we opened.
I think the level of like enthusiasm and like optimism and energy in those first few vlogs though is like, it's charming to look back and see.
That time was electric, man. It was like,
how do you feel about...
What's crazy is I was miserable then.
Really?
Miserable.
Well, you did say leading into it, you were in the worst place of your life.
The amount of like meaning and purpose that gave me at that time. Like this project that was so much bigger than me that I believed in, you know?
Yeah. Well, so now you're so dumb back then to go back. But like, at this time, having had the park open for, is it 8 years now?
Yeah, 8.5.
Do you feel like there was it's interesting how there's got to feel like there's chapters to the story at this point where it's like, oh, in the first few years, these were all the regulars and this is what I was doing and this is what I thought. Like, was there a golden time that you think is nostalgic or is now that's what I was going to ask, is now or the future the golden time? Like,
well, in one sense, you could say the golden time was pre-COVID when things were, the customers were there.
It was so good. Even just for me, like I remember like the months before COVID, just business was booming. I felt like I had a ton of money and I was getting a ton of clients in different areas and I was right the tip of the mountain, and then it just all exploded. But enough about me.
Well, there's a couple things there because in one sense, it was really great pre-COVID when I had Clark, who worked for me for a few years, who was very reliable and he could open and close. And I love that kid. He's awesome. And I could take off work, and the business was steady and we had gotten, 5 years in, it felt like I did it. 5 years, what they always say, we've made it 5 years. And I was playing a lot of disc golf tournaments because I could get off on Saturdays, and he wanted all the hours he can get. And it's so hard to find someone you could just trust to be at the skate park and just, if something happens, he's going to handle it like an adult and, whatever.
Are you currently in a place where you have to run the skate park by yourself, can't afford an employee?
No, I
Or
can't
are you
afford
just
anything.
not looking for one because of the difficulty? And
I can't afford anyone.
that's what I figured. But
I actually found out this year I was illegally paying myself less than minimum wage because I didn't know minimum wage went up. And I'd pay myself for far fewer hours than I work anyway.
Of course,
But
yeah.
as far as like when it was, it's funny. I look back and I think I was being lazy and complacent back then in like maybe like 2019. Like it felt like I was just like chilling and the skate park had momentum. But then I think about it, I'm like, no, I was always fixing stuff. I was always building new ramps. But just relative to the workload now, it felt easier then.
Yeah.
And then, got to COVID. And I was like, this is great. We've made it 5 years, and COVID happened, and I made it through COVID. And then, in fact, COVID year was like the best year I've ever had.
Yeah.
And that was like the only year of my whole tenure here I hit the goal of what I was aiming for to bring home money, which was $30,000 a year.
Yep.
And then it's just never rebounded there from that. But as far as like the facility itself, I think right now is like even the shop, like there's been so many iterations of what the shop layout has been like, and moving the showcases and adding more lights and all this stuff. Right now, the skate park feels like this is like, in one sense, it feels like I'm on the verge of closing, and this could be like the last year. But at the same time, like the podcast studio and the second loft and the foam pit and the shop layout and the bike shop and the resurfacing of the mini ramp and the quality of my ramp building now is, I think, proficient. Mm-hmm. In the last like 2 years, it's been a point where I'm like, this is good. Like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So like the trajectory is like, this is it. This is like
So
where
it's
it
like
needs
as
to
an
be.
operation, you're peaking.
Yeah, I would think so. But it's always been moving up.
Yeah. But looking at the financials, it's almost like, do you feel like any parts of what you're doing now is like necessity is the mother of invention type of thing, where it's
always
like,
been like that.
Yeah, where it's like you wouldn't host a podcast or make this content if you didn't feel like it was integral to the business's life.
Well, I like I love doing the podcast. I like doing the video. It's just exhausting when it's like today. I really contemplated texting you and being like, I can't do it tonight. Like
Somehow I felt that because I spent a lot of my day just kind of waiting to drive up here, and I was like, man, if he just texted me and was like, not tonight, I would be like, oh man, I could have done so much shit today. Like, why did I just sit around waiting for this podcast?
But part of the reason I'm here and I've done all this goes back to, you asked me right from the beginning of this, where it's like, I've always been like this. Like,
Yeah.
Because I'm that person that you'll sit there and go, I really would like to not, and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, no, I said I was going to do it. So I'm going to freaking do it.
Yeah.
So you do it. You do the fucking thing.
Yep. And most of the time, it can't always be this way, but you're better off for it. Like it's like,
Yes.
What would have been worse? Letting the weight of the world make you call things off and cancel things and give up, or letting the weight of the world push you to take action? Like what's worse? It's like, obviously the first one's worse. The second one it's productive. It's resilient,
Yes.
and the first one is, it's just sucks.
Like I mentioned earlier, like I was not happy when I built the park. I wasn't happy even like the first year or so I had the park. I remember here's breaking news. You're not going to find it. I have an album on Bandcamp.
Okay.
And it's like, it's very sad.
Yeah.
And the collection of songs plays out almost like a concept album that only I know. And only I know it exists and where it is.
It's on your Insta.
But I even have a song about like how I should be happy. Like I've
Yeah.
accomplished this. The skate park's open. I've had it. Like it's like I've developed like a mindset of being more like pragmatic. The stuff that Jeff taught me, how the business, how to be analytical. The things that I told you is why my relationship is successful, because I'm like trying to find metrics. I'm trying to have conversation. I'm trying to like have progression in my life. Right. And it's like in that song I wrote, I'm like, these are all things that I know are beneficial and like they have to be working, but like, why am I still not happy? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't even tell you what really changed, but like eventually I got out of that. I mean, that's a conversation for a different podcast, but
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like I had read, I think it was in Atomic Habits or something like that, about like happiness being, it's not like a destination. It's just this quick moment between like longing for something and getting it. And it's really like this expectation that humans are supposed to be like happy at any given time. It's like happiness is kind of like,
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly the concept.
yeah.
That you don't really want to be genuinely happy all the time. When you're happy, you're not locked in, you're not alert, you're kind of aloof.
Yeah, and it is just something. It's like a byproduct of something that happens for a little bit. It's not this like state of being.
So people say happiness, they really mean like being content.
Right, exactly. Like
Yeah, I
content,
used to be very
satisfied,
discontent.
proud
Like,
of yourself.
I'll tell you what happened. I know what happened. What happened is I started reading, and it started from videos and watching videos of people talk and engaging ideas, and that led me into podcasts, and then podcasts led me into audiobooks. And I'm dyslexic, so I really, really struggle to read. Prior to the skate park, I learned how to read. Like I knew how to read.
Sure.
But I learned how to sit silently in a room for half an hour and read. And It took me a really long time. And then when I built the skate park and did nothing but work for like a year straight, when I finally had the time to sit down and read, I lost it all. And I still really struggle, although I could read first thing in the morning before my brain is spun up. But in that time, I learned I could listen. And I always knew that from school because I wouldn't take notes, I wouldn't do homework, but I would listen and I would retain a ton of
Fairly
information.
engaged student.
Yeah. And then I found out at some point, I don't know how I realized this, but if I started speeding up the content, it forces me to engage even more. So I'm actually at the point now where a lot of podcasts I'm listening to straight up at 2x speed.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, because I go 1.2 and I'm pissed. I'm like, this is too fast. I can't do this. Like, I go back down to 1.1 just for that 10% increase in speed for my own impatience.
1.6 and 2.1.
Even
depending.
1.2, I'm like, okay, this is exhausting. Like, I can't listen to this fast. I don't know what it is about me. Maybe it's that I'm not dyslexic.
But for me, it's like, it's so fast. Like, I have to be locked in.
Yeah.
And there's certainly sometimes content that's too serious and too engaging and thought-provoking where it's like, you can't do it that fast.
Right.
But
So how can you process it completely? Like,
yeah. So that's really where I changed my entire like life philosophy out, and I learned about like psychology and all these like different frameworks of thinking and mindfulness, and that's when things like really totally changed.
Breaking Free Book Club, baby.
Dude, on my old podcast, Wrench Life, I used to I would talk about books I read, and I used to put a lot of work into outlining these podcasts.
Breaking Free Public Library.
Yeah.
Breaking Free Little Book. What do they call it? Little Free Library?
I mean, there's a pile of books right next to the register.
I know. That doesn't mean they're in the little library. Doesn't mean I can take it home.
Yeah. All you gotta do is ask.
Well, touche. Yeah, I think that's something that my wife and I have started. She's been reading forever. I just started
looks
reading.
like she reads.
Yeah, she's very smart, very studious is the way I'd like to put it as well.
That makes sense. She comes in.
Yeah, and you know what's
she changes
interesting?
into her skate gear. She does all our stretches.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, she's got a routine.
Yep, she's a baddie. Like 50%, maybe 60 of the things that I know that make me sound so big-brained, I just learned from her. Like, like you're talking about the taxes, and I'm over here putting my hand over my eyes, but I'm the same dude that wasn't filing correctly until she was like, Tom, you don't be an idiot. Like, you need to claim all that stuff, and you can't just. So it's that's the sign of a good partner, though. They make you a better person. But yeah, I've been reading as of the last like probably year of just like psychology and finance and all those kind of thought-provoking books. But they are fulfilling, and I find that I usually find like a couple good phrases that like kind of stick with me on my everyday life. And as I go through things or actions, they'll like echo back to me of like, I don't know. I just listened to a Mel Robbins podcast where she had talked about a morning routine, and she had mentioned the idea of you do this, and this, and then you just do one thing to move the ball down the court. And I was, for some reason now as I go through every day, I'm like, just move the ball down the court. Like just a little. And it's like, I just find these little nuggets that help me to stay more focused and keep me on track. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe audiobooks and podcasts and reading and stuff kind of lets you refocus on your mission, which is to make this ship go for everybody. Which I don't know if sometimes we're being too redundant in saying it, or maybe if it can be said enough if there is a possibility. But like, we're grateful for the sacrifices that you make to keep this place
Thank you.
going. Like, truly, because it's not on deaf ears. It's not unseen by us, the people who come to the park weekly. Like, we're grateful because without it, we don't have a place to ride. And we see the sacrifices that you make. And it's a lot. Like I say often, like, dude, Dave gave his life to action sports, and
Dude,
like
totally.
truly gave his life to action, is giving his life to action sports as we stream, like
Yeah.
right now in this moment. And it's like, it's not for everybody to do, and very few people would. And so, you know, I'm lucky there's people like you, because if there wasn't, I don't know what park we'd
I'm
have.
just doing what I think everyone should do. I know that I'm not normal, but if more people were more like what I'm doing, well, not everyone can do this, but like the passionate people who have a drive, like they should just go for it and do it. Like,
Yeah, I think it's deeper than that though, because I think a lot of people would quit sooner, expect more, give less, and I think, I don't know, maybe it's this type of thing, but I think it's in a song. I forget where I first heard it, but there's the phrase of like, oh, he's not heavy, he's my brother. And it's like, the idea is that, like, you know, do anything for that guy. Like, I'm not even thinking about it that way. And I think in that sense, it's like, it's not heavy, it's my skate park. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you seem to just fully give yourself to the cause, to the machine, in a way that I just don't know that everybody could. I know that I
Yeah.
couldn't.
Well, we're almost 2.5 hours in here.
Yeah, cut me off, dude.
So, and that's a great point, and it's gonna dovetail nice with how I wanted to finish this year. I didn't even really think about this. You got me thinking about all this stuff and when things changed for me. And there was some point in time, it was probably somewhere around 2017, maybe even in 2016, where I started engaging with this different content online and reading. And I made this decision where I was like, I'm going to strive to live forthright with the world. That's how I said it. That's how I used to live it. And that means I don't want to embody any hypocrisy or contradiction. I'm trying to, watch how I act the way I would watch how someone else acts, not just presume that I'm just doing things for the reasons I think I'm doing them, try to catch me in my own bullshit. And a lot of that has led me, the whole thing has led me down an interesting path of like rethinking why I think everything about everything I do. And I mean, that's like I always was kind of that way. The whole idea that the name Breaking Free came from that, like breaking free from all the bullshit. And that was like a moment where, like, as an adult, I was like, no, like it's bigger than that. It's like this, like I said, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna do the right thing, regardless of how hard the right thing is to do. I'm not gonna bullshit anyone. Like, and the business has always been open source like this, where I do the podcast. I tell everyone exactly how it is, because why would I do it any other way? Like, I'm not gonna lie to anyone. I'll tell you exactly what I make and how much work it is.
Yep.
And I think everyone should strive to live more forthright with the world. Like, you just do the right thing, even if it sucks to do it. Like, and I wasn't good at asking for help. And that's something I've gotten better at, is like asking for help and calling for volunteers to help me with this thing. Because I've had it on my back alone for so long.
Definitely.
But like, I just do the events that sound like they're cool events. Someone should do it. Like, all right, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody has to support me. I say this all the time. Like, it's like not a complaint. It's like just like an observation that like people talk shit, or there's like 3 skate shops in Rochester and none of them seem to want to do anything with me, despite like, I have a decade of coming to Rochester and doing events across all the disciplines.
Yeah.
And reaching out to these shops to be like, hey, you want to do something together? And it's like this non-committal kind of thing. And maybe that's a little bit harsh calling people out on it, but that's the reality. Is like,
I guess you're just being forthright if you
I am,
if you
exactly.
think about it. Yeah.
And like, I don't really I never pledge allegiance to any particular skate shop or crew or person. I'm just like, and I don't care at all how good you are when you come in these doors. Like at the cash register, we're all equals. Are you a good person? Golden rule, don't be a dick, right?
Right.
A lot of times I'm shocked at how good some riders are or how bad they are, because I only judge them. When you come in the skate park, I only judge you by like how we interact at the counter. Like, are you nice? Or you come in like you're too fucking cool for everything?
It's so hard to not be so intrigued by how good some people are or aren't, though. Like, despite it holding no actual value as to who they are as a person, it's such an interesting metric of like, but where are you at? Like,
yeah, it melts people's brains.
That's coming from a mid-grade rider.
When they're good and they know they're good, and then they come to a place like this, and I don't care if they're good.
Yeah.
Like, because there are people that are good and they're like dicks about it because they think they deserve something for being good.
Yeah, I think the people who are good and aren't dicks, they really make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Like it's always kind of surprising somehow, but I just think that's the culture of skate parks in the 2000s. Is people were kind of standoffish, and I remember as a kid feeling like Rochester was pretty hostile.
Well, back then it was.
Yeah, when I was like 14, 12, 13, which is, I don't know, it would have been like 2008, 2009. But yeah, maybe not so much anymore. 2 riders, very good, very nice. Kevin's one of them. Kevin had always been really just generally friendly. Like, just seemed almost like he didn't know he was good. He was like, why are you so nice? And then Jordan Murray, who
was the man.
He was so
the
cool.
Best. He was the best.
Just generally
RIP,
super
J-Mo.
nice guy. And it was so like, just felt so good to ride with him because he was just cool. He was just a nice guy. So I think if everyone can be more like them, skate parks are better places. Or like the Reanimate guys who are introduced themselves to me on the ramp. Just, hey, I'm Garrett. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah,
nobody does
other
this.
people think they're weird because they're just so nice.
It's how it should or could be. I mean, I understand everyone can be socially in a different place. Some people might be in a dark place while they're riding and just want to put the headphones in and ride, and that's fair too. But I think as long as we can all just assume that everyone's going through their own thing and just give them the space if that's what they want, but otherwise, tap the tail, give them a woo when they land a trick, and be cool.
Yeah, last thing I'll say, and this goes up with this forthright thing. The one thing that really does grind my gears is there are people in the riding scene who they want to have this air of being like that guy that does all this for the scene, the hashtag support local, shop local, support your local skate shop, right? And so many of those people, that's not really what they think. They want to support or foster their particular narrow vision of how they want their sport to be.
You have such a unique lens, though, because you are the skate park. Like, they're not the skate park. They're the skateboarder or the bike rider or the scooter. Like, you're the diverse
but we all need each
spaceship.
other.
No, totally.
We're smart enough to know that.
And I was only trying to mention that, like, you have the greatest vantage point of anybody. And in being the skate park.
That's fair.
Like, you see everybody. You talk to everybody. Everybody is equal at your park because you are the park.
Yeah.
Where, like, these people are the skateboarders. They're not just the skateboarders. They're the street skateboarders. Or are they the OG street skateboarders, or are they the younger street skateboarder? And it's like there are all these little areas, and like you have the gift and burden of being all of them and having to make a space for all of them at all times. And obviously that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Everyone should, doesn't matter how many wheels you ride on, but it's a different perspective.
You could totally argue that monetarily I have to have that perspective, or it's in my best interest to want to support everyone, but in line with that, being forthright with the world, like this isn't what I would like. Mark my words, when the days this skate park's closed and it's over, like I'm not going to be gone. Like you're going to see me around, and I'm going to. There's going to be events, and I'm like, it's like, and if I end up leaving Rochester, like wherever I go, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be fostering the scene in the community, no matter where I go. Yeah. And even I don't want to go down a wormhole, but
it's easy to do.
Yeah. So we should all strive to live forthright with the world and not to embody any contradiction, and just, don't be a dick, the golden rule, and like be freaking nice to everyone, and like we're all going to be better for that.
Definitely.
I just can't stand the, hashtag support your local skate shop, but I'll never go into that skate shop.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's like there's so many people that like literally will not come here, and again, you don't have to support me, but also don't give this support local thing, if you're not going to do it.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's an interesting market for everybody to eat in, because no one's making money.
Let's all eat the pizza. You saw that clip with Alan?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean,
it's all part of a good scene, right? Like the rising tide raises all ships. A great, vibrant riding scene is going to have all your disciplines. You're going to have an indoor park. You're going to have an outdoor park. There's going to be a warehouse. There's going to be a DIY. There's going to be events. There's going to be like rollouts. There's going to be beginner stuff. There's going to be advanced stuff. Like all those things contribute to a beautiful, vibrant scene. And I might be the cornerstone of that scene, but like I'm just one piece of it. It all needs to exist. So like I don't get upset that there's a warehouse across the street from here. I get upset that like the tone around it, the fact that it's like this like cool guys only vibe. That's like common in skate parks.
People are always going to take things for granted, and it's impossible not to. Generally speaking, obviously, like you can try to hold yourself accountable, but I think the other thing that can be a bit of a burden, but the great power, great responsibility type of we are who we're waiting for type of thing, where it's like it might unfortunately be on you to force that community the way you want to see it, where it's like, I'm not saying that you can like just not take no for an answer and force these people to collaborate with you, but I am saying that like there's probably a level of collaboration and like forced community that you yourself can just make. You can be the change that you want to see in this diverse Rochester action sports scene, and just make sure that no matter what, is Breaking Free reaching out to these places, is Breaking Free supporting these places, as long as you're doing everything you can do to make those connections and foster those things, like having the Croco guys on the podcast, it's perfect. Things like that, like get them all on the podcast, like, and get in all their DMs and comment on all their stuff and make a collab post to them. See if you can get, I don't know, I can go on forever about these things.
Well, the thing is, if we all strive to live forthright with the world, like I said, the beautiful thing about that is like you don't really have to try. This will come. The scene will flourish in it of itself if we all try to do that.
Totally. I think it takes intention and sacrifice, and I think sometimes you just got to be the person that you're waiting for, and you got to force those things in. So I don't know what the way that is or what that means to you, but I know you're no stranger to taking on difficult things. So slide in those DMs, force it.
I wouldn't say that I don't get upset from the criticisms, because obviously I do. I'm human.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like when someone says some dumbass crap about the skate park, it's like the actions speak louder than whatever this guy said, right? If someone wants to say, oh, Dave's just like this, it's like, well, look at all those things he did.
Yeah.
How could he possibly be like that?
Yep.
Again, and this is part of like that being forthright. Like you could say whatever the insult you want to make. Like, oh, he doesn't care about skateboarders. And I'm like, oh, that's weird for some guy who hold three skateboard events this year.
Right.
Who, collaborates with the Reanimate guys every Friday night.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, I didn't build the whole park to be just for skateboarders.
Yeah, it's like, or you could say, oh, he doesn't care about kids enough. I'm like, well, I do tykes on bikes. So it's like if you just do all those things, if you live forthright with the world, the criticisms more easily roll off your back, because the best available data suggests that those criticisms can't be true.
Yeah, I think that's definitely exactly it, and that's part of what I'm saying, of like you just build the habit and the portfolio of collaboration, of support, of of creating a space for all these different people. But I think you also have the burden of having to be for everybody and therefore not being for anybody specifically.
Yeah.
And I think that people bitches are going to bitch. You know? It's just the way it is.
Well, let's bring this thing home here.
For sure.
I've been here for over 16 hours right now. I'm absolutely exhausted.
Yep.
Although I feel less exhausted than the podcast we did on Friday with Lorenzo. That was a really good one.
He said he was tired.
Yeah.
Same. I was feeling that when I go to bed at like 10ish. So
Yeah. I got to be here in a couple hours. So
let's close this bad boy up.
Dude, thank you so much for being here.
Sign off.
I'll definitely get you on again because I want to talk more about what you've done because you've done so much stuff. I get so pumped when I find out. Like Nick Gugiano had in the podcast. He's another young guy he's 10 years younger than you, and he's done so much shit.
I'm not as young as I look.
It's so crazy. I used to be able to say I'm not as young as I looked, but I think it's catching up with me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a blessing and a curse to look younger. I think sometimes it's cute, but then it's like, is it cute or is it weird? You know what I mean? Should I just look like a 30-year-old guy?
All right, Tom.
What's our sign off?
Where can people find you? What are the accounts? Plug Canalside one more time. Let's hear it all.
Okay, Canalside Skatejam. Come skate. Come jam. Come get the vibes. It's May 18th. It is an event for everyone. We want to see you there. I am also a wedding photographer, Tom and Sierra Wedding Photography. I am also a musician, Ende Brothers, and I'm working every single weekend. So if you want to skate, don't hit me up Friday, Saturday, even Sunday. Honestly, come skate on Monday.
All right. And you know where to find me at BFS Live Podcast, at Breaking Free Skatepark, at Breaking Free Bikes, at Orange. Hit us up on Patreon as we go into the summer months. Your $5 a month goes a really, really long way. And the way Patreon works is it just keeps banking the money you pay every month, and I could pull that. I could basically, it's like a bank account. I could pull that money out when I need it, and there's going to be a point in time this summer when I'm really going to need it. So get on board. If you're on the podcast, that link will be in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you go back to the beginning of the video, there's a QR code, and the link is in the description. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Comment your thoughts below, and let me know if you want to be on the show, because everyone's welcome to come on the show. I'm looking for guests for the next couple of weeks. And thank you for watching. Keep grinding. I'll see you at the skate park later. Tom, thank you.